And we are live. What's going on, y'all? Guess we'll get some people here in the building. Coming to you live Thanksgiving week, live from my mama's house. Man, I'm on the road, man. This week, man, doing the whole Thanksgiving thing. So I'm not even at the crib right now. But we still wanted to knock it out, man. We still wanted to go ahead and get this in. And oh shoot, you know what? I just realized I didn't even plug in this computer, man. I need to go ahead and do that before everything just collapses on us. So chat amongst yourselves. I guess I guess we'll take a second to
do you see? Is it on YouTube now? Is it on your YouTube channel? Send me that link so I can start sending it to people.
I know we're live. I don't know.
Let me see if I can find it. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bear with us. Anybody who might be in the chat.
Bear
with us.
Let me find this.
We got a couple people in here. What up, y'all? Whoever it is, I see some. I see a number going up. I don't see who it is, but I'm trying to plug in this laptop. Okay. That would be good for us to be rolling, and then just everything shut down.
Oh, D New, what up, D New?
D New in the building. What's happening? All right.
All right. So let me.
All right, cool. I'm all plugged in. All right. See who's that? MJ. What up, MJ? MJ Jackson. Action Jackson. Of course, in the building. Let's see. So I think we're trying to share the link and whatnot. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. So you said what's the best way to do it? I'm like so like non-tech savvy. It's not even funny, y'all. Like it's a shame.
I'll send it to you now. It's your own YouTube channel, bro.
Oh, you send the channel. I can't send the actual video.
Wait, I'll show you right now. I'll give you the link right now to your own video feed. Because this is not the StreamYard. We're giving them the YouTube feed.
Oh, true.
Yeah, I just.
Oh, I'm looking at it right now. Okay, cool.
I just inboxed it to you.
Oh, okay, got it. All right, cool.
Cool.
All right, so let me go ahead and share this. Yeah, y'all hit the like button, the share button, every button you can button. You know what I'm saying? Just go ahead and just go ahead and hit that up. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be starting up here. Yeah, I hate to for the slow lead in. I like just jumping straight into it.
Right.
So I'm gonna share that on Twitter and Facebook. We live in the building. The more and more I think about it, man. So we might have to end up doing more than one, session here, man. On round two, we might have to circle back around two. What I'm saying,
right.
We hit up round three. We'll see how that goes. All right, cool. I just shared something. I don't know what I just shared.
Funny guy.
But I shared something. I'm sharing. Y'all sharing? Are y'all out there sharing? Give me a 1 if you shared it. No, I don't want to put no pressure on nobody, But
that's put the pressure on them, son.
Put the pressure on them, yeah.
Pressure on
them. Okay, what up? I think that's brother Q in the building. What's happening with you? All right, we got Tim A. I think I don't know if he's trying to go incognito. I'm assuming this. Maybe I shouldn't say his name because if he's got just the abbreviation there, I guess he's going. He's trying to stay under the radar. I don't know what that's about, man. Maybe he's not supposed to be online right now. Yeah, he might be on Facebook, YouTube restriction. You know what I'm saying? He out here YouTube creeping. Trying to get in that apologetic session. He's supposed to be at the crib or something. But yeah, man. How you feeling though, man? We got. We're doing this round 2. We're doing Jabari's portion of the round.
Yep.
Round 3 just dropped yesterday. It was yesterday, I think it was. You know what I mean? So, we got a whole lot to chew on, man. How you feeling?
I'm good. I haven't even looked at that. Well, no, that's not true. I fast forward so I could look at the Q&A. So I could see you flaming this dude.
What's sad, man?
Oh man, we gotta do a separate show on the Q&A. You know that, right? A separate show just in the Q&A.
Yeah, oh yeah, we definitely should. No, seriously, we really should, man, because there was a lot of great content right there, man. And it's funny because like I watched that part, and it was like it was so much worse when I when I rewatched, I was like, dang, that was a little sharp.
And I didn't realize you had it written down, right? The question you had it written because you looked at your phone.
Because he so Pastor Eric Mason has said that he wanted to keep the questions to like 10 seconds, 10, 15 seconds. And I just know myself, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, Tim A is revealing himself. He's revealed it is Tim Allison in the building. So, you know, so I guess he wasn't trying to be on a sneak tip. But yeah, man. So Pastor Mason, let's see if I can turn this light a little bit. I don't know if y'all can see me. I'm looking like real mysterious right now.
Yeah, we can see
you. In my normal spot. Okay. Yeah, so Pastor Mason was like, yeah, you know, we could only take like 10 seconds to ask a question. And I know myself, you know what I'm saying? I know I can be wordy, like being brief is not my strong suit. So I was like, okay, in order for me to get across what I wanted to get across, I need to go ahead and write my question down. You know what I mean? So that way I can, you know, deliver it, getting it out the way. Cause I didn't want to be one of those guys that you know, the pastor has to be like, yo, what's the question?
Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Be that guy, you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and write the question and respect this man's house and you know, get in and out of there, man. But you know, yeah, MJ said everybody in the audience was like, oh.
I told you, right?
Yeah. But you know, it's just one of those things, man, where I felt like, you know, I was just irritated, you know, that he was coming with the same zeitgeist stuff. And we'll get into some of, you know, here today. You know, we're going to try to take a different angle, I think, than you know, most folks take, because I want to really get underneath, you know, what we're. But I'm not going to spill that yet. We'll get to it when we get to it. But yeah, man, it's I enjoy watching it. It's like, man, you know.
And by the way, he did mention Jesus. He said he didn't mention him. He didn't mention him. We'll get to that.
Yeah, he said he didn't say that Jesus didn't exist or that Jesus was a myth or something like that. And
definitely did.
Pretty sure he did.
He did.
And I wasn't sure at what point that was, but then he came back and was like, "Well, yeah, I implied it." I was like, "All right, well, if you implied it, then
it's open game. Right.
It's open season." You know what I'm saying? Right. So, yeah, man. Yeah, so that was wild. You know, MJ Jackson said shots.
A lot of as a bazooka. He didn't know where to go. He was looking for cover and there wasn't any, bro. It was hilarious.
Oh my gosh. And you know, it's so much to that we won't even get a chance to get into it all. I'm gonna try to confine our discussion to what he actually said. I don't want to, you know, get into every possible angle we can go there. But yeah, man. So I guess so definitely if people haven't been, you know, following each, you know, session, this is the next segment. But you know, we were just on BK Apologist channel. We did the breakdown of Bantu's, you know, rounds and whatnot. And we got into actually, you want to break down what we did on your show?
Well, I mean, you definitely, you know, took the lead in the conversation. We were just doing our ESPN breakdown of the strategy that Vince Bantu used for the debate, you know, and just really giving you a skeleton of what to look for in any type of debate. Right. You know, it's like, what is the topic? How does one arrive to the conclusion? You know, how do you set up your premises? And to look for, does the premises reach the conclusion that they're trying to make? And Adam was just really trying to help us to be aware and to really train ourselves to look for these things, for these clues during this or any type of debate.
Yeah, that was it. That's the whole, and I think what we're going to do tonight is kind of spill over from that, because one thing I'm really serious about, and it's only because in my own thinking and studies, I'm trying to be more versatile, as well-rounded as possible.
Right.
And I think that as I don't want to just say as apologists, but as people who are engaged in these issues, we often fight these battles with one hand tied behind our back. Oh snap! My man Havoc is in the building. What's good, bro? What's good? My man Havoc. Hey, I want to shout out to my man Havoc, Chris Cohen, man. Solid brother in the Lord. Known him for like, I don't even know how long, man. It's been like a minute. I'm saying definitely solid brother in the Lord, man, who's always encouraged me. Before I was, you know, Scott Lane, you know, the apologist, I was Scott Lane, the gospel rapper. And when I was on the verge of giving up, my man Havoc would always encourage me, man. So, you know, shout out to him. So, you know, definitely it's good to see him in the building. You know, yeah, definitely that. I don't even know where I was going with that, but yeah. So you know, we definitely want to take advantage of the full range of resources that we have at our disposal, you know, when it comes to engaging these issues. And I think that and what maybe this would be a good lead in as we kind of get into this this portion of the round. But you know, one thing that I want to talk about is how, imagine if you're going to let's say you're like a handyman or something like that. You know, you're going to go build something or fix something or whatever. You're probably not going to use just one tool. I'm saying you probably want to come prepared with the hammer. You want to have a screwdriver. You want to have the right drill bits and all that kind of stuff. You want to have a number of different tools so that whatever comes up, you can kind of handle it. And that's kind of how I see apologetics. I mean, there's many tools in the toolbox, for any given question, for any given objection that somebody brings to the table. We have more than one way of getting at the question. Now, when it comes to the, we're going to be dealing with here tonight, when it comes to the whole Horus Jesus connection, there's certain ways that I think we're used to going about answering that question, which can, for the most part, be effective. Like, we can demonstrate there's not a primary source for this, or, things like that. But I want to kind of get into some of the other tools that we have at our disposal as well, and kind of see how those can come into play when engaging this issue, man. So I guess if you're cool with it, man, we can, you want to fire it up? You ready?
Yeah. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Okay. Share screen.
All right.
Chrome tab.
What are you sharing again?
I'm going to share my slides.
Oh, okay. You starting with the slides. All right. We're not even getting into the video yet. All right. We're getting it in early.
Yeah.
Yeah, Apologist is not playing. He's got preliminary bars.
Basically.
Preliminary bars.
All right. So
share that.
So do you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So the question for round 2, right, is Christianity a copy of ancient Egyptian Kemetic religion? Mm-hmm. And as we've said, from the very beginning of this debate, any topic you have to first define terms, right? Mm-hmm. So we shared this before. What exactly is Christianity? The suffix ity means state or degree. Right, Christ is a noun, which means Messiah or Mashiach in the Hebrew, the anointed one. So Christianity is the state of being Messiah. That's what Christianity is. Mm-hmm. Now, a copy is a thing made to be similar or identical to another. So when you put those two together, the thing that Jabari has to compel us to believe is that the state of being Messiah is a thing made to be similar or identical to ancient Egyptian Kemetic religion. Mm-hmm. This is what he has to prove to us, right? The state of being Messiah is a thing that was made to be similar or identical to ancient Egyptian Kemetic religion. So one of the things that he does to try to prove this is he makes mention of this. This is actually one of his slides. He talks about St. Augustine, and he says here that which is known as the Christian religion existed among the ancients and never did not exist from the beginning of the human race until the time when Christ came in the flesh, at which time the true religion, which already existed, began to be called Christianity. Now, he takes this quote and he says that he's speaking about ancient Kemetic religion, that's the ancient religion, the true religion that he's talking about. But Augustine seems to have his share of people misconstrue his point as well. Mm-hmm. So he creates a book called Lectrationes, which is basically him reviewing his past arguments throughout his career and decides to really emphasize what he meant. And he goes back to this quote.
All right.
And it says here on the one book on the true religion, this is what he says. At this time also, I wrote a book on the true religion, in which I argued repeatedly and lengthily that the one true God, that is, the Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, is to be worshipped by the true religion, declaring also the greatness of that mercy of his through which, by temporal dispensation, the Christian religion, right, the Christian religion, mm-hmm. which is the true religion, has been given to man, and it's man's obligation to be inclined by a kind of delight to this same worship of God. So he's defining what he means by true religion.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Christian religion, right? And then elsewhere he says, again, when I said in our times, this is the Christian religion, which to know and follow is most secure and most certain salvation. I did so with reference to the name only, not to the thing itself, for which this is only the name. For what is now called the Christian religion existed even among the ancients, and was not lacking from the beginning of the human race until Christ came in the flesh. From that time, true religion, what religion is the true religion? The Christian religion, which already existed, began to be called Christian. For after the resurrection, the ascension into heaven, when the disciples had begun to preach him and many believed, the disciples were first called Christians in Antioch, as it is written, for this reason I said, in our times, this is the Christian religion. Not because it did not exist in former times, but because it had received his name in latter times. So he makes it very clear what he meant by the true religion that the ancients worship.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because, again, previously he says, on the true religion, in which I argued repeatedly and lengthily, that the one true God, that is the Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, is to be worshipped by the true religion. He is saying that this was worshipped by the ancients. He's talking about this. What we now call Christianity has always existed, but he meant this. He meant Orthodox Christianity, which came to be known as Christianity. This, not the things that we saw in ancient Kemet or any other ancient religion. He's talking about this specifically. Mm-hmm. So he himself clears up whatever discrepancy people might have with his quote, which is great that he saw that in himself. So now, with that being said, okay, so now we're gonna play a video.
Okay, so let me
I'm sorry, do your thing.
No, because actually while you was talking, it reminded me of Acts 17, which I want to bring up right quick. To kind of add a little bit more.
Want me to stop sharing? You want to share something or?
No, not necessarily. I'm just gonna read it. Like in Acts 17, verse. I'm gonna start at. Let me start at 28. I think I'm gonna start at 28. Actually, no, I take that back. I'm gonna start at verse 26. So at verse 26, he says, from one man he made all nations. Let me backtrack. So this is the Apostle Paul in Athens, right? And he's talking to the Athenians, and at this point he's already said something about how they're worshiping the unknown God and so on and so forth. So he's engaging them, using their worldview as a springboard to engage them. And he says in verse 26, from one man he, meaning God, made all nations that they should inhabit the whole earth. And he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands. God did this so that they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from any one of us. For in him we live, we move, and we have our being. As some of your poets have said, we are his offspring. Now, the reason why I mentioned that, and we could also talk about Romans, 1 as well, 1 through 3 actually, and break that down. But hey, Beatrice Wells, shout out for the super chat. Actually, I forgot to mention that. So this is actually my first live, where I'm actually able to take super chat. I just passed the threshold, as far as YouTube views and hours, where I can now accept the super chat. So this is my Beatrice Wells in the building with my first ever super chat. You know what I'm saying? So let's give her a round of applause. I appreciate that.
Pass the plate.
No, seriously, man, I really appreciate it. It comes in handy because I'm trying to do this thing as full time or as close to full time as possible, and so all the love is definitely appreciated. So thank you, Beatrice Wells. Shout out to you for that. It's shameful. I don't even know how the super chat thing works, but yeah, I'm guessing there's a button that you can push and give that way. So I'm definitely thankful for that, man, for sure. Man, where was I going? Oh yeah. So when it comes to definitely, thank you. So when it comes to what we refer to as Christianity, as Sam Augustine was mentioning, even today, I think people, they want to say things like, "Oh, Christianity starts in the first century," but what about all the religions before then and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, Orthodox Christianity maintains that God has always been at work in the earth. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he just plopped in the first century. The God, to whom, the biblical text refers, has always had a salvific plan that he's been carrying out from, the beginning of humanity on up through the first century, where he fully reveals himself in Jesus Christ, enacts the work of salvation, at the cross, and then moving forward into, I guess, what we could refer to as the church age. You know what I'm saying? So Christianity, or I'll say the expression of God's salvific plan that we currently refer to as Christianity, is not a Johnny come lately worldview. I'm saying God has always been doing a work in the world, and he had people who were faithful to that salvific work in alignment with that salvific plan. Whether you want to go back to Job, or you want to go back to, there's a number of different people, Melchizedek, or a lot of folks that we could name. I'm saying even some outside of Judaism, you know what I'm saying, as it is expressed, through the Mosaic Law and Covenant. God has always been at work in the world. So so that's kind of along the lines of what Augustine was talking about. It's like, man, God didn't just start working with humanity,
right,
at the cross. I'm saying he has always been at work in the world, and there's always been people who were followers of God at any given time, being obedient to the light which they had at any given time. You know what I'm saying? So that's what that is. So you want me to start the video, man, as far as the debate, the round, or?
Yeah. You don't have the video queued up, right? You don't have it.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Oh, you do. All right. So, yeah, if you can share in the 24-minute mark, you can play from there.
Ooh, 24. All right, so I cut out like Bantu's part. So I had the video starting from Jabari's for like.
Right, exactly.
Okay, is that 24 minutes? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. All right. Let me share my screen. All right. So you want from the beginning of Jabari's presentation, right?
Well, the 24-minute mark.
Okay.
I need to say something here. I have followed this brother very clearly and very intentionally, and I think that some.
Can you fast forward it to the 24 mark or
deceptive?
Oh, okay. Maybe I done messed it up, man, because that's like where I started my video. Do you want to?
Because I got it already set up in mine. I could just share from.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, let's do that. Cool. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, do your thing.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, let me stop with that. And yeah. Actually, I did want to address his little comment there, though, but I'll come back to it.
You sure you can do it now if you want?
Yeah, I kind of do.
Do it now. Yeah.
Sure. I want to address that right quick because he makes some claims about Bantu.
Yeah, do your thing.
You know what I'm saying? So I want to go ahead and get that right quick. Bear with us, y'all. You know what I'm saying? We waltzing right now.
Yeah. So do your thing.
All right, cool. That's my fault. All right. So I'm gonna address his accusation of Bantu right quick, and then I'll get back to where you want to get to.
Cool. I need to say something here. I have followed this brother very clearly and very intentionally, and I think that some of what he may be doing here is intentionally deceptive. He is merging periods of time that should not be merged. He started to talk to you about Diocletian massacring Christians and said, well, how could that be an example of how Rome is controlling Christianity? He's not telling you that happens before Rome decides to control Christianity. He knows this. You don't. Don't let him flim-flam you, family. Regardless of the tradition you belong to, you should be inured against that is what is not true. He knows this. He's talked to you very eloquently about Constantine. Diocletian is when? Before or after? What? Say that?
Well, you go ahead.
No, go ahead, say it.
No, you go ahead.
I'm going to let you say it.
I'm going to let you go ahead and talk.
Okay. I wonder why. Because he's before. He is giving you Donald Trump with a Native American headdress because he knows you haven't done the scholarship he's done. Dear brother Dr. Bantu, I have. I'm sitting here listening to you, knowing that what you're saying is deceptive. By the way, you have given us lots of great slides.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it right there for right now. So here's why I wanted to address that right quick, because he begins his second round what I would consider to be a pretty severe kind of like a character assassination. I mean, he's literally saying that Bantu has been intentionally deceptive.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna show another video. This is gonna be courtesy of our sister Nephroniti.
Oh, true.
You know what I mean? So again, Jabari said he begins by saying that Bantu has been intentionally deceptive by blurring time periods that should not be blurred or merged, or however you put it. He also claimed that he has been listening intently to the brother. That's what he said. He's been listening to intently, such that he feels justified in making this claim that Bantu is being intentionally deceptive, and it all hinges around his assertion that Bantu was not clear in stating that Diocletian came before Constantine. Now, mind you, what I'm about to play is a portion of Bantu's debate or presentation rather from the same round. This is literally what Bantu said literally in this presentation that comes just before Jabari's accusation. So I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, exactly. It's ad hominem all day. So I'm going to play this clip. This is courtesy of Nephroniti. Definitely go ahead and check out her YouTube channel as well. Shout out to her. You know what I'm saying? But she put this together. Now, again, this is what Bantu says immediately in the presentation, immediately before Jabari begins to make these accusations against his character. All right, so let me share my screen. If I can find, okay, where are we at? Boom. Okay. Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Emperor Diocletian enacted the worst persecution almost of any in the whole Roman Empire and was massacring Christians. So at a time, again, this is the opposite of the claim that this came from the white man, this came from the Roman Empire. To the contrary, Pachomius, an Egyptian born and raised in the traditional Egyptian capital, born and raised in traditional Egyptian religion, he would have been safer. As I already have showed you, it was cool to be a traditional Egyptian religion, traditional Roman, whatever, played all different gods. What was not cool at this time was being a Nazrawi. That could cost your life.
He started to talk to you about Diocletian massacring Christians and said, well, how could that be an example of how Rome is controlling Christianity? He's not telling you that happens before Rome decides to control Christianity. He knows this. You don't.
Christians were being killed by Diocletian. This is before Constantine.
He's not telling you that happens before Rome decides to control Christianity. He knows this. You don't.
Right. So that was just a short clip that literally, let me stop. I don't even know how to stop sharing this joint. So literally before Bantu, Jabari starts assassinating this man's character, he literally said, oh shoot, my bad, let me add that to the screen. He literally said, you talks about Diocletian, said this is before Constantine. It was like maybe 5 minutes before Jabari's whole thing. So I brought that up to say that to me, at this point in the debate, it really showed Jabari's desperation, I think. You know what I'm saying? It really showed like that the first round was a body bag for sure. You know what I'm saying? And I think that at this point, he starts out trying to go the ad hominem route. He's making claims that are simply not true about what Bantu said. He's going over trying to put the mic in his face and all these different theatrics. You didn't see those theatrics in the first round. The first round, he was just kind of, doing his thing, being a presenter. But I think this is a turning point where he starts to, feel a little, feel like he's under the gun. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of want to just point that out. I mean, this is just that, that trick bag kind of stuff, man. It's right. To the debate, But yeah. So you want to go with you want to share your screen and go with the
Yeah, I mean, it's another example of style versus substance, right? It's all about the aesthetic. If I could appear as if I'm refuting him, and if I do a good enough job in my appearance, I might catch some of you in believing that I actually did refute him.
Right.
It's a highly sophisticated version of strong and wrong.
Strong and wrong.
We've seen people do strong and wrong. He does a very sophisticated, high-level version of that. He really does. No, it's not a shot. He's just he does.
It's true.
He really does.
Facts. It is. Facts.
So yes, let me share.
It's so funny. Why you bring that up? It's so funny because I was sitting in the back. I'm like, what does he mean? He didn't say it. Like he literally just said it.
Right. Like he wasn't hiding it. Like and you're agreeing with him. So what's the problem?
Yeah. What's the issue here? You know what I'm saying? But I was just tripping, man.
All right. So let me see. Let me play this. Tell me if you can hear this. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Let me get to where I want to go.
Start with is Christianity. This section is Christianity a copy of?
And then what about this one? Justin Martyr, another important church father. When we say that Jesus Christ was produced without sexual union, was crucified and died and rose again and ascended to heaven, we propound nothing new or different from what you believe regarding those who you call the sons of Jupiter. For when we say that Dionysus arose again and ascended to heaven, is it not evidence the devil has imitated the prophecy? Yes, they do recognize they're copying something. This dude is actually saying, guess what? The devil has a time machine. He knew Jesus was coming, so he went thousands of years before to seed you so you wouldn't believe in Jesus.
All right. So that's the point he makes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And again, this is the slide, right? When we say that Jesus Christ was produced without sexual union, was crucified and died and rose again, and ascended to heaven, we propound nothing new or different from what you believe regarding those whom you call the sons of Jupiter. From when they say that Dionysus arose again and ascended to heaven, it is not evidence. Is it not evidence that the devil has imitated the prophecy? Now, of course, he's taking it as if, that that somehow, like you said, the time machine that Satan knew was going to happen, and then he kind of cut Christianity off at the pass and decided to, right? But let's see if that is the case. Now, mind you, he's getting this from a documentary called Zeitgeist.
Right.
It's a series of 3 documentary films released between 2007 and 2011 that presented a number of conspiracy theories as well as proposals for broad social and economic change. This came out 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 2007. There are tons of refutations of this document.
Oh, sorry about that.
So good. Tons. Yeah. Okay, so a lot of his talking points you could get directly from this documentary. Right. So just so you know, I was going to play this. I'm going to keep going. So this is.
You can't. It's up to you, man. We taking our time, bro. What do you want to do for real?
Nah, it's cool. It's cool. So this is this is the actual, right, the book, The First Apology of Justin Martyr. And this is what he says. Again, context, right? It says, and this may now become evident to you, firstly, that whatever we assert in conformity with what has been taught us by Christ and by the prophets who preceded him are alone true and are older than older writers who have existed that we claim to be acknowledged, not because we say the same things as the writer said, but because we say true things. And secondly, that Jesus Christ is the only proper Son who has been begotten by God, being his word and first begotten in power and becoming man according to his will. He taught us these things for the conversion and restoration of the human race. And thirdly, that before he became a man among men, some influenced by demons before mentioned related beforehand through the instrumentality of the poets, those circumstances are having really happened, which having fictitiously devised, they narrated in the same manner as they have caused to be fabricated the scandalous reports against us of infamous and impious actions for which there is neither witness nor proof. We shall bring forward the following proof. All right. So he's talking about these things preceded Christianity, right? The prophets, the Torah, the Old Testament. And then these guys are copying from us, not the other way around. This is what he's saying elsewhere in this book called Zeitgeist, the Movie Exposed by Joel McDermott. He says, in the quotation I provided above, Justin refers to the following proof. Lost on mythicists is the fact that Justin spends the next 45 chapters fulfilling this promise.
Come on,
He
man.
lists prophecies of Christ, beginning with Moses, when he says was the first prophet and of greater antiquity than the Greek writers, right? Which is, he's quoting First Apology, chapter 59. That list includes the virgin birth, the place of birth, Bethlehem, various details of the advent of the life of Christ, the crucifixion, the ascension and session in heaven, the destruction of Jerusalem, Christ's rejection by the Jews, Christ's suffering, death, and more. All of this from the Old Testament, and all before Greek mythologists even thought of writing. So who's copying who?
Got him.
Right? Justin's saying, no, you buying from us.
Right.
You know, that's the point he's making.
Well, and let me clarify too. I mean, first of all, this is another issue that I have with Jabari. I think he's just really sloppy in making this point because, well, number one, he refers to Justin Martyr as a church father, which is not true. You know, Justin Martyr is my understanding, is referred to as an apologist. But when you start getting into church, like fathers, doctors of the church, and things like that, those are very specific terms. You know, so he's just off on that. But anyway, as far as I understand, anyway. But the more essential point is, you know, Justin Martyr is, you know, he could be dead wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It wouldn't affect, you know, anything about Christianity. I mean, Justin Martyr's
He's not an inspired writer, right? Right.
So
he's not an apostle, right?
Right. So you could just obliterate everything that Justin Martyr ever wrote. You know what I'm saying? And it still wouldn't, you know, phase Christianity not one bit, because not one bit of Christianity hangs on whether or not Justin Martyr was correct as to, you know, the prophecies and so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? So again, I think that he's just trying to, you know, throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks or whatever. Right. And he just messes up. It's like, you know, okay, cool. Like, even if you're right about Justin Martyr, it does not follow, you know, that gives you anything towards this notion that Christianity was supposedly copied. The other thing is too, and that maybe we go back to that quote, to the actual Justin Martyr quote, because he says something about we say about Dionysus.
You talking about this one?
Yeah, he said, for when they say that Dionysus arose again and ascended to heaven, is it not evidence the devil has imitated the prophecy? Now, what's interesting is that I'm actually going to put it's just a short debate between Gary Habermas and a Jesus mythicist. I'm gonna put that in the chat right now for anybody who wants to, you know, check it out. But actually, it just occurred to me while, you know, you're reading it, Gary Habermas mentions this, how, you know, as in terms of the primary source evidence, you know, that we have today, nobody puts the resurrection aspect story of Dionysus before Christianity. No, there's no evidence to support, you know, primary source evidence to support that followers of Dionysus, you know, believed in the resurrection part of his narrative prior to Christianity. So when Justin Martyr is talking about these folks imitated, you know, the prophecy, he's like, no, for real, like y'all really did, like, you know, Christianity came first, and y'all are adding to your belief system this resurrection element that previously was not there. You know what I'm saying? So even in that that portion right there, it just doesn't support what Barry was trying to assert there. Yeah.
Right. And to continue the quote, it says, Justin then criticizes the heathen religions for their failure to prove the stories they tell of Jupiter, as he has proven his point about Christ and Old Testament prophecy, and then prosecutes his charge concerning spiritual deception. Those who hand down the myths which the poets have made adduce no proof to the youths who learned them, and we proceed to demonstrate that they have been uttered by the influence of the wicked demons to deceive and lead astray the human race. First Apology, chapter 54. He then enumerates the alleged instances of parallels and shows the possible Old Testament origin of each, again making it impossible that the Greek myths provide a source for the New Testament Christianity. So he's saying you guys took from us and you made, you know, we had the Rolex, and then you went to Canal Street and you made the $5 Nolex. That's what he's saying. Right. But you didn't even copy it right.
But see, here again, you know, even if Justin Martyr is dead wrong, the point is Jabari is treating this quotation, this one snippet, you know what I'm saying, as if Justin Martyr is like, yeah, y'all got us. You know what I'm saying? We saying the same thing. We got to, we definitely biting. And, he's treating it so flippantly as if Justin Martyr is just, giving a, oh yeah, y'all caught us red-handed kind of thing. And that's not at all what Justin Martyr is saying. That's not even close to what he's saying. You know what I'm saying he's actually making the case that's the other way around. So even if Justin Martyr himself was wrong, Jabari is so sloppy right here, in terms of how he's using this quotation.
Right. And this is a quote from the actual Zygas movie, which he gets his argument from. Right. It says the film Zygas continues to say, quote, it's obvious that Justin and other early Christians knew how similar Christianity was to pagan religions. However, Justin had a solution. As far as he was concerned, the devil did it. The devil had the foresight to come before Christ and create these characteristics in the pagan world. Right. This is the argument Jabari is using. He's getting it from this film. Right. The claim that Zeitgeist makes that Justin claimed that the devil pre-copied Christianity and the New Testament is completely false. He never said that. What he did say was that when the Hebrew prophets wrote down their prophecies about Christ, the demons imitated them and got them all wrong. When they, wicked demons, heard it predicted through the prophets that Christ was to come and that impious men would be punished by fire, they put forward a number of so-called sons of Zeus, thinking that they could thus make men suppose that what was said about Christ was a mere tale of wonders, like the stories told by the poets. But as I will make clear, though they heard the words of the prophets, they did not understand them accurately, but made mistakes in imitating what was told about our Christ. For here it could be seen that Justin Martyr never claimed that, quote, the devil had the foresight to come before Christ and create these characteristics in the pagan world. Rather, he is saying that the devil tried to imitate the prophecies of him, but basically screwed up. In other words, he's saying demons tried and failed to copy the Old Testament, not that the devil copied Christianity before it even existed.
Body bag.
That's the point he's trying to make.
Right. So Jabari's whole kind of comical time machine rendering of what Justin Martyr is saying is totally inaccurate. Pretty much. That's not at all was going on there in that quote or that passage. And actually, let me throw this out too. And this is something that maybe cats can go to the more recent interview I had with Vince Bantu, where we actually talked about this a little bit. How with both Justin Martyr and Augustine, and you can throw in Tertullian, you can throw in some other church writers, between the first and I'll say third or fourth century. When they're dealing with persecution, a large part of it had to do with the fact that they rejected, pagan gods. You know what I'm saying? And in ancient Rome, paganism was like just totally interwoven with just everyday life. You know what I'm saying? From, the marketplace to involvement in politics. You know what I'm saying? If you they wanted you to bow down to the Roman gods, they didn't care what else you did. You know what I'm saying? But you had to bow down to the Roman gods as a part of just everyday life. You know what I'm saying? Now, the Egyptians, as Bantu described earlier in the round, they got over because they was like, all right, cool. We just going to, ride with y'all's guys. We got ours. We just kind of merge them and it's all good. Right. Obviously Jews and Christians wasn't with that. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, you see, people like Augustine, particularly in his writing, The City of God, I'm thinking about, where he's responding to pagans who are saying, look, we got these plagues and these other nations are rising up against us. And we got all these problems because y'all won't submit to the pagan gods. You know what I'm saying? And so often, what they'll try to do is they'll try to by they, I mean, I'm talking about the Christians, they respond to that and saying, look, we're not so different from y'all. I'm saying you can't just put us in this category over here in an island, because we know through our history anyway that when you do that, we start ostracizing people like that. It just makes it easier for things like the Holocaust and the persecutions that these ancient Romans were trying to, impose upon them anyway. But my whole point is, they would say things like, look, we're not, these weirdos. So for example, there was, claims against Christians that they were cannibals, babies, and just all kind of stupid stuff. Right. And so you see in ancient writings, like I say, with Augustine, Tertullian, Justin Martyr, they're like refuting that. Like, look, we're not these weirdos that y'all want to put out here so that you can then have justification to throw us to the line. That's not what this is. And so they would try to, find a common ground between their worldview without, bowing their knee to, the pagan gods. And that's where a lot of this is coming from. I'm saying in terms of them having to respond to that,
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. So, so again, right, who's copying who? It's like, no, you was biting from us. In fact, going to what you're saying, his argument too was like, listen, you're getting in our case because we believe in this particular human, right, that we say is a god. But you guys worship a whole bunch of people who you say is gods.
Right.
So we're calling hypocrisy.
Right.
Right. Now
that's the logic. Right. Exactly.
That's his thing. It's like, you shouldn't get on our case. Like, if you're saying we're spooky, you're more spooky.
Right. It's like, you're
worshiping more gods. Right. Oh, and by the way, you're biting from us anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you're taking this from us. So you're welcome.
Right.
Right. So, but anyway, so let's continue.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
You want to share your screen?
Yeah, I got it. All right. Here's the next clip I want to play. Okay.
Here, her name is Hypatia. Say Hypatia with me. Now, Hypatia is likely a biracial woman. I don't have time to go into that. And she was practicing a tradition that was closely linked to the Roman, Greek, and Kemetic tradition. There are many similarities there. You're correct about that. And one of the reasons why there's similarities is because the Greeks and the Romans took from Kemet. And so then Christianity is influenced directly by Kemet and then indirectly by the mystery traditions. That's how Christianity is cobbled together from other people's traditions. And that's why the folks that you were hearing had to try to explain it away. So he's saying that Christianity is very different from those traditions. True. Because they say that their savior is a literal person. That's the difference. I don't believe a dude with a bird head is going to visit me tomorrow. I don't. But you may believe that a guy with holes in his hands would. I don't mean that to be disrespectful. I'm trying to help you understand one of the differences. So let's look at Hypatia. Hypatia was a mathematician, an astronomer, and a practitioner of traditions that were much closely linked to the ancient traditions. When the Christians told her to stop and she refused, they took her from the temple teaching space, stoned her, and then carved the skin and her flesh off her bones with seashells and paraded her remains in the street. That's how Egypt converts. Why is he continuing to make this sound like it's bloodless? He knows the story of Hypatia. Look at his face. Yeah, so why is he doing that? Stop it. Why are you doing that? You don't have to do that to win this section. Because I'm going to call you on it every day, all day.
All right. So, actually, let me stop sharing for a second. Because to your point, sir.
Okay.
Right? This is a preview to round 3. Right? Because Adam does ask him for any primary evidence that says that Jesus did not exist. And Jabari says, oh, I never brought that up. Here he brings it up here in round 2.
Right.
Right? He's clearly saying that I don't believe this dude existed. Right? And we also see some waffling when it comes to the subject matter of the round. Because at one point it's like, he says it's a direct copy from Egypt, right?
Yeah.
But then he says it comes from these other places that get cobbled together. But then right after that, he says, well, it's not really a copy because the Christians believe in something that we don't believe in. But I thought the whole point was to show us how it is from Egypt.
Yeah, you know what? And that's the thing is that, so I think that what he was trying to do is kind of lighten the load a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I think he recognized that proving that Christianity was like a direct copy from Kemet is just like impossible. That's just a no-go. You know what I'm saying? So I think in his mind, well, it's not a carbon copy, but it's like this watered down, Greco-Roman influence, whatever, that's kind of easier case to prove, because then, and I'm just trying to etch out his strategy, because I'm looking at his whole round. So I'm thinking what he's trying to do and say, okay, well, here's some examples of Greco-Roman beliefs or whatever, some similarities here, and boom, there you go. Christianity is filtered down from that. But that was, but the Roman Greco beliefs were influenced by Kemet, blah, blah, blah. Now, see, the problem is this, though. Where he messed up is that he hasn't lowered the bar. He's actually raised the bar for himself. Because the issue is, once you say, if you say that Christianity is a copy from Kemet, just full stop, just, one-to-one, connection there, right? Then you've only got one source of Christian beliefs that you have to account for. You're just saying that it's it comes from Kemet and that's it. But now, if you're saying that Christianity is derived from Kemet, but then there's some Roman influence, there's some Grecian influence. Now you've got at least three sources of these Christian beliefs that you're trying to account for. So you've actually increased the burden. Now you've got to demonstrate, okay, well, here's a primary source where Christians are getting from the Greeks. Here's a primary source where the Christians are getting from the Romans. Here's how that then connects back to Kemet, or here's where they got that directly from Kemet. Now you've got more sources to account for. Now the issue is that we talked about this in the last segment. When historians are doing their work, what I'm saying. Hey, shout out to Dr. Eric Mason in the building.
Yeah,
yeah, I think you're right. I'm saying he came apart, man. He saw that Bantu wasn't playing. I'm saying it just it was not a game. So but case in point, I'm saying, so I think he was really trying to, I think he ended up outworking himself. I'm saying he tried to add more. He thought he was taking away someone's plate, but really he added more, because now you got to count more sources. And so again, this is what I was talking about last time, how when historians do their work, as you mentioned, it's Occam's razor is at play. You know what I'm saying? And we described that in the last session, so you can check that out. I'm not going to go into all of it now, but the basic idea is that the simpler explanation, if you got two competing theories as to what occurred, we're talking about history, so as to what occurred in the past, and you're trying to explain the data, I'm saying the simpler explanation is going to be the one that historians are going to say is more plausible. I'm saying, because if you got these different components that you got to account for, then the more components you have, the more work you got to do.
But there was also another issue he was having, because he wanted to score some rhetorical points against Christianity, but he couldn't do that without shooting himself in the face. Because the minute you say Christianity is bad, because remember what the round is about, that Christianity is copying from Egypt. So any critique he throws at Christianity, he's throwing back at Egypt. Right? Because you guys did this bad thing. Well, if it's a copy from Egypt, that means you did the bad thing first.
Right. Yeah, we came from y'all. So what you mad?
Right?
Right.
So he knew that. That's why he was waffling. Because every time he wanted to throw a shot at Christianity, he had to lower this idea of it being a copy.
Yeah, speaking of throwing shots, so I'm relatively new at doing live chats. It's something that we're kind of new at doing, and we don't have mods right now. I need to get some moderators, y'all.
Right.
But with that being said, I don't even want to call him out by name, but the brother said something about just made a comment about Mason and James White. We're just not gonna have that. We're talking about the debate. So if you have a different agenda for being here and things you want to discuss, take that somewhere else, man. We're just not doing that right now.
Right.
So and that's not true anyway. You know what I'm saying? That's a false accusation. So I will give people the boot. I hate to even have to stop and do that, but we don't have mods right now. So
that's what it is, man.
You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. So let's stay focused. Anyway.
So let's continue with the deep dive.
There it is.
So let me get this ready here. All right. So okay. So he mentions Hypatia, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, the question you have to ask once he shows you this is, what does Hypatia have to do with the state of being Messiah being made a thing made to be similar or identical to ancient Egyptian Kemetic religion? Because again, this is what this round is about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is Christianity a copy of ancient Kemetic religion. So he has to show us how this helps his argument. He just brings this up, right, to show how vile and wicked Christians are, right? Because he says that she was a practitioner of ancient Egypt religion. They told her to stop. She said no. They dragged her and they killed her, right? This is the history he gives us of Hypatia, right?
Right.
This is what he tells us what happens. Well, let's dig in a little deeper into the history. This is a book entitled City and School in Late Antique Athens and Alexandria by Edward J. Watts. All right, so let's get some background on Hypatia. It says the Christian students who attended her school. Wait a minute. Christian students attended her school? I thought they were going out for blood to kill her. Let's continue. The Christian students who attended her school were given a training that suited their diverse backgrounds and interests. In Hypatia's school, philosophy was a religious mystery that revealed deep truths about God and the nature of the world. The pursuit of it bound students together and allowed them to establish friendships based upon a shared journey towards enlightenment. These friendships encourage students to seek philosophical truth in a way that emphasized both intensive contemplation and personal temperance. Ultimately, it was taught this could allow the mind to ascend to the level of the divine. With its emphasis upon contemplation, Hypatia's training worked in typical Platonian fashion. Students were taught to train their minds to approach the divine in a controlled way, unlike Iblesian teaching, in which, I don't know how you say this word, third were used to enhance the contemplative ascent of the mind. Hypatia's training appears to have involved no ritual elements. Whether by design or not, this aspect of Hypatia's training made her philosophy accessible to Christians in her school. Christian students did not need to worry about their convictions conflicting with their training. So Christians didn't have an issue with her because the things that she was teaching them didn't conflict with their theology. It's no different than a bunch of Christians going to a chemistry class. Chemistry itself does not conflict with theology. Now, if the teacher starts talking about scientism, there could be a conflict there because now you're implementing a particular philosophy with science. But if we're just talking straight science, no Christian should have a problem with that. And that was the case here. And they were friends. The students, everybody was getting along in her school because she wasn't using any ritual elements. Now, whatever she did outside of school, that was her. But here, no ritual elements. Let's continue. Indeed, it seemed that training Hypatia gave was equally appropriate for pagan and Christian students. In a city with a Christian majority, this would have made her popular indeed, right? So she wasn't being vilified at this point. So we got to see what exactly happened here. So to continue, this situation changed dramatically when Theophilus died in 41. Apparently, his death was something of a surprise because while he had been training his nephew, I don't know how you say his name, Cyril? Is it Cyril, Adam? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, that's how I've heard it.
Cyril. To succeed him. He did not officially mark Cyril as his successor. Consequently, upon his death, a violent struggle for control of the Alexandrian church began. Hold up. I thought they were going to destroy Hypatia. No, there's an in-house struggle in the church, right? With one party supporting Cyril and another supporting Timothy, Theophilus, archdeacon. In this fighting in the church, in-house, each party drew support from a segment of the city. But after 3 days of street fighting, who's doing the fighting? Unfortunately, it's the Christians among themselves. Cyril was able to take control of the church. Cyril then began to settle scores. As soon as he took power, he punished the Novatians, a Christian sect that had supported Timothy. Wait a minute, I thought we were all ganging up on Hypatia. No, Cyril's attacking other Christians here by ordering the confiscation of their church property. Then in 414, he took action against the Jews who also may have been supporters of Timothy. After a series of small but increasingly violent disputes, Cyril ordered his supporters to seize the synagogues in the city and drive the Jews from their homes. This later act incensed Orestes, the prefect of Egypt, and he sent a scathing report of the events to the emperor. Events continued to spiral out of control until Orestes was nearly killed in a riot by Cyril's supporters. When the monk who had incited the riot was killed during interrogation of Cyril, tried to have him proclaimed a martyr, prominent Alexandrian Christians, the Christians, forced a detente upon Cyril and Orestes. So all this was in-house. These guys between Timothy and Cyril were trying to find out who's going to be the main leader of the church in Alexandria. Their factions broke out, fought, it got bloody, and some real Christians in Alexandria said, y'all need to chill. Stop it, right? Because he was fighting against the prefect of Egypt. Let's stop this. Let's work this out, right? So it's Christians going at Christians and Christians stopping these Christians from going at each other. Okay, now, what happened was they had to try to broker peace between the Egyptian prefect and the Alexandrian church. Guess who they choose to help them to get the peace going? Hypatia was a good choice. She was well known to both prefect and local councilors. She was also a student of politics within the city. And through her students, she had connections to influential figures outside the city. Most importantly, Hypatia was not a terribly controversial figure. From all we could tell, both pagans and Christians liked her. In addition, she had not been involved in any of the previous stages of this conflict. As a well-respected member of the local establishment, she was a difficult standard bearer to attack. Despite, hold on for a minute.
No, let me just kind of interject. As you're describing Hypatia's role, is kind of making me think about I'm sorry, who was that rapper that was killed recently out there in LA?
Nipsey.
Like kind of like Nipsey Hussle. I'm trying to contextualize. You know what I'm saying? Like she kind of like makes me think of like Nipsey Hussle, whereas she's got her own stance or whatever, but she's cool with different sides of the fence. You know what I mean? And so I can imagine like when she was eventually killed, I'm sure there were some people on both sides who was like, dang, that was jacked up. You know what I'm saying?
And we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that.
I'm going to throw that out there. It's kind of
Yeah. So despite her reputation, it seems that Cyril or his supporters did begin to attack the character of Hypatia. Although all 5th century evidence of this has perished, traces of these attacks can be found in the description of Hypatia given by the 7th century bishop John of Nicaea. John, drawing upon Cyril's propaganda, right? Not facts, propaganda, portrayed Hypatia as a magician who put spells upon Orestes and a number of prominent Christians in the city. Using her spells, she caused these Christians to assemble at Orestes' house. As John intimates, her magic then caused the attacks against the Jews that brought Cyril and Orestes into conflict. This slander, an obvious reference to Hypatia's role in organizing the party opposed to Cyril, is particularly effective because it enables the bishop's supporters both to tar Hypatia as a magician and to discredit the prefect and Christians who were helping her. Christians were helping her to broker this peace between the prefect and Cyril. So they had to, set a wedge between those Christians and her, right? So John describes the effect that this rumor had on some members of the Christian population. Believing her to have cast these spells, a man named Peter assembled a mob to find Hypatia. When they did so, they brought her to Caesarium and dragged her through the streets until she died. This crowd then burned her body at Sinron, a place outside the city. So it wasn't like she was just this wicked, witch dressed in black and had a broom, and she was in this dark castle, and the villagers came to destroy her because she was so evil. Like that wasn't her.
Right.
And unfortunately, it was a smear campaign from a quote unquote Christian leader, Cyril, that caused this dissension. But it wasn't like they all was together to take her out. Now, it seems though that these views were held by a distinct minority of Alexandrians. While Christian sources universally celebrate the destruction of the temple of Serapis, the murder of Hypatia is mentioned with disapproval in all sources save John the Cool.
Ooh.
All the Christians were like, this is whack. This should have never happened. And the only guy that said otherwise was the guy that was feeding people the propaganda from Cyril.
Wow.
Socrates' Schoolactatius is probably typical of this feeling. Despite earlier accepting the destruction of the Serapeum as a necessary event, Socrates writes of Hypatia's murder, quote, this affair brought no slight opprobrium upon Cyril and the whole Alexandrian church. Indeed, nothing's further from the spirit of Christianity than murders, fights, and similar things. So everyone understood that what occurred wasn't Christianity.
Right.
It was done under the guise of Christianity, but was not. Let me continue real quick. Indeed, this distinction between destruction of pagan property and religious murder even made its way into imperial law. In the law of 408, the emperor Arcadius and Honorius command, quote, if any images now stand in the temples and shrines, and if they have ever received or do now receive the worship of pagans anywhere, they shall be torn down. In a later law, however, it is made clear that this order does not apply to innocent persons. It reads, quote, we especially command those persons who are truly Christians or who are said to be, that they shall not abuse the authority of religion and dare to lay violent hands on Jews and pagans who are living quietly, attempting nothing disorderly or unlawful. So this idea that everybody got together to just kill her because she was this wicked person is a complete fabrication.
And see, man, golly, man, it's so irritating, bro. Like, so all right, so I'm trying to be chill about this. I really am. I'm not gonna do Jabari how he did Bantu and just accuse him of being a liar, because that's what he did in the beginning of this round. He accused Bantu of being intentionally deceptive, but I'm not gonna do him like that. I'm not gonna do him like that. I am gonna say though, that for whatever reason, he has a tendency to take a narrative where there may be some negativity going on,
right,
and place it squarely on Christians, you know what I'm saying, in a way that is not reflective of the historical record. He did that. Obviously, we see just now, we got bars from my man, BK Apologist. He just killed the whole Jabari Hypatia narrative. And as you saw a couple weeks ago, we did the breakdown of round one when it came to King Azana, when it came to the conversion to Ethiopia. Jabari's narrative is not reflective of the historical record. It is. I mean, I can't say it any other way. I can't say it any other way. You know what I'm saying? He's not, giving people with the and again, this is a guy that calls himself a historian. Right. I can't tell you how many times. I mean, and it seems like every video he has with Tazariak or whoever,
he always makes mention that he's a historian.
He's always saying he's a historian. But bruh, if you're a historian, why are you spending so much time conveying untruths about what the historical record has to say? I'm not talking about like just kind of stuff where it's just lacking nuance. I'm just talking about whole narratives that simply aren't true.
But again, it's his focus again is the aesthetic and style of the presentation, but not the substance.
Right.
And he's so good at the style that he actually gets over a lot with different audiences just on that alone.
Right. Hey, somebody was asking like, what book you were reading from just now?
I'll tell you right now. It is. Hold on. It is City and School in Late Antique Athens and Alexandria by Edward J. Watts.
Okay, there we go.
Actually, I'll put the name in the chat.
Right. We ain't got nothing to hide over here. And I'm not saying that the question was alleging that. I'm just saying we I'm saying, I'm just saying we straight up with our sources for sure. But and you know what? Let me just say this. And again, I'm not saying that the person was asking that question to try to get us or nothing like that.
No, not at all.
If we forget to give y'all the source or something like that, then please ask. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, put it in the comments or something. Definitely.
Yeah, please do, because we don't want to be caught slipping. I'm saying it definitely hold us accountable on that. But yeah, just like Mason was saying, he's saying in the chat, you know what I'm saying? It's just, this is terrible, dog. This is terrible stuff. I mean, this shouldn't be the case, man. This shouldn't be the case. Let's just, come with your evidence. We come with our evidence, and we let the truth speak. That's how it should be. But again, now let me ask you this question. Why are guys like Brother Jabari so successful at these kinds of things? You know what I'm saying? I would suggest is because when you use stories like this, because notice he started out, he said that Hypatia was a biracial woman or woman of color. I can't remember how he phrased it.
It's like that. Yeah.
He's trying to bring his audience into the story, and I get that. I mean, I understand that you want to give people something to relate to. I understand that. You know what I'm saying? But then he, it's okay. So we bring him brings the audience into the story about Hypatia, and now we got these mean old Christians, you know what I'm saying, that are, just kill somebody for no good reason. You know what I mean? It just kind of really plays into narratives that people who are predisposed to those kind of narratives, that's what they want to hear anyway. That's what they believe about Christianity anyway. So to them, they're going to see it as persuasive. But then when you actually get down to, like Mason said, fact checking these dudes, you start to find out, like, wait a minute, it didn't really go down the way these brothers saying it went down. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And a point that you made in the first round video that we did, the difference between people who call themselves Christians and Christianity, right?
Right.
Cyril wasn't acting like a Christian.
No,
let's just keep it 100.
Yeah, he was tripping.
This dude was a tyrant. He was tripping. He was power hungry, and his first targets wasn't Hypatia. It was other Christians.
Yeah, he was getting it in.
He was throwing Jews out of the synagogue. He was wilding out of control. And it wasn't until the Egyptian prefect said, yo, chill, and he wanted to kill him. And it wasn't until real Christians from Alexandria said, no, we're not going to do that. Let's stop that. Let's broker some peace. And who did they bring in? Hypatia. Why? Because she was cool with both sides.
Right.
Because everybody went to her school. They were friends with her. She was teaching things that wasn't upsetting the Christians. It wasn't going against nobody's theology. Right.
So
and because of that, Cyril had to take her out. Yeah, because she's in my way to what I want to do. I'm trying to run the table.
Right.
And she's in the way. So now I got to fabricate nonsense and slander and propaganda. But the Christians knew it because afterwards, as we saw, nobody agreed to what he did. All the Christians was like, that was horrible. That was terrible.
Right. See, you can't get away with cherry picking all this kind of stuff. Like this is not gonna work, man. And I keep telling these guys, like, look, this is not, bruh. I'm telling you, this is not like back in the day where you could say something about the church and cats just wouldn't say nothing and just let it slide. Like that's done. Like that's over with. You know what I'm saying? Like nowadays, you got to come correct. Like, we not playing. You know what I'm saying? Like we not playing.
That's what Doc's saying. He's saying the other guys they want to debate us need to watch your videos to see if they can't get away with sloppiness.
You can't do it. You can't do it. Hey, I'm telling you right now. Listen, I'm not omniscient. I'm not saying I'm the smartest guy around. But I'm gonna tell you, like nobody's gonna outwork me. I'm gonna tell you that right now. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm in these books. I'm saying I'm gonna study what I need to study. And I'm gonna be ready. That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying, like, we not playing, dog. I keep trying to tell these cats, it's not a game, like at all. And we got so many, like, it's just me and you on a Tuesday night chopping it up, bro. It's scholars that we got, backing us up. Just like, like way more in depth than I am at this point. You know what I'm saying?
It's we're cut from a different cloth, man.
Right now, yo.
We're cut from a different cloth, bro. I mean. Mason shows off his library. Other people show off their houses, their watches. Mason shows off his library, which is lit. His library is crazy.
Yo, I'll post I'll make a Facebook post with like my one book that I feel proud of. Like 20 books.
Here he comes, right? And he kills all of us, right? So yeah.
Right. That's funny, man. That's funny, yo.
But
all right, you want to go to the next point though, or
yeah. Let's do that. Yeah. All right. Oh, let me share. I Stop
Oh,
sharing.
okay, yeah.
All right, here we go.
So Hypatia, that whole narrative, donezo. Like we just
it's a rizap.
It's a wrap. Right?
Doobies and pins. It's a wrap. All right. Okay, here we go. Let me get to the point.
We're going to start with is Christianity.
All right, let me start here.
Particularly in the countries he's talking about, is that Rome conquers Egypt, and then they weren't able to conquer Nubia, but then an Ethiopian man is transitioned by his tutor. I didn't say that I didn't imply an inappropriate relationship. I did not do that. Someone in the audience said that. I didn't say that. I'm just saying if you sent your child to school, if you sent your child to school and someone came back and said, I'm a member of Nation of Islam now, some of y'all would be like, oh, hell no. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying it's inappropriate for an adult to do that to a child. I'm not saying anything else occurred. I have no proof of that. And then that man actually transitions his country and conquers Nubia to create another Christian nation.
Hey, can you pause that right there?
Egypt to Ethiopia.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick for anybody who maybe hasn't been following our whole series, he's kind of recapping a point that he made in a previous round, and we're not going to get into it in this segment. But we already smashed that to shreds. Pretty much. So go back and check out that breakdown where we just totally BK Power just shredded that whole thing. But in this video, this segment we're doing, we're just kind of focusing on the claims that he's made that's relevant to the second round topic. So I said that right quick.
No doubt.
Okay.
Ethiopia to Nubia. That's what happened. All day long, you can't pretend that didn't happen. And he even suggested I didn't do a citation. I'll do that later. This is the original Austin Heru.
All right, that actually wasn't the point I wanted to make.
Oh, okay.
But I'll do it I'll get to that part. So he makes mention of, not in that segment, but he makes mention of the Black Madonna, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how, of course, he's using that as a point of, well, here's a place where we see Christianity copying from ancient Kemet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's look at some of these Black goddesses and let's compare and contrast, right? Okay. So we got Bastet, goddess of women, one of the most popular deities in all of Egypt. Tattoos of Bes were done in black ink. The images of the afterlife frequently make use of black background to not only accentuate the gold and white of the foreground, but also symbolize the concept of rebirth. This is Bastet. This is a black goddess. Does this even look like the Black Madonna?
No.
Okay, but let's just continue. All right, Bastet was extremely popular throughout Egypt with both men and women from the Second Dynasty, with her cult centered at the city of Bapatis from at least the 5th century BCE. She was first represented as a woman with the head of a lioness. Again, does that sound like the Black Madonna? All right. And closely associated with the goddess Sekhmet. But as that deity's iconography depicted her as increasingly aggressive, Bastet's images softened over time. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
To present more of a daily companion and helper than her earlier forms as Savage Avenger. Is the Black Madonna a Savage Avenger? Now, mind you, I'm not defending the Black Madonna. I'm not down with that either. But as scholar Geraldine Pinch writes, from the pyramid text onward, Bastet has a double aspect of nurturing mother and terrifying avenger. It is the demonic aspect that mainly features in the coffin text and the Book of the Dead and in medical spells. The slaughterers of Bastet was said to inflict plague and other disasters on humanity. humanity. One spell advises pretending to be the son of Bastet in order to avoid catching the plague. Where do you see any of this in the Black Madonna? Look at all these photos. Look at the different iterations of Bastet. Does this look like the Black Madonna?
Nah, buddy.
Is the Black Madonna known as a savage avenger? Right? It's like I don't see it. Right? And here's another person. Right? One of the few real life people to be deified, Queen Almos Nefertari, was the patroness of the necropolis. And she was usually portrayed with black skin. The black images of the queen embodied the concept of regeneration as the fertile ancestress of the royal line of the 18th dynasty. All right, so
break it down.
We have someone here, right? An actual real person that's deified as a queen, and that they are doing that with the Black Madonna, right? They're both made with black skin. All right, so we have that. But she's the patroness of the necropolis.
Yeah.
The Black Madonna has nothing to do with that. The queen here embodies the concept of regeneration. The Black Madonna, quote unquote, Mary, died, and that's it. She didn't keep coming back. So okay, you got the black skin and you got people deifying her. Okay, cool. But are these the only women that ever been deified in the ancient Near East? Like, I can't see Kemet holding the copyright here. It just doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? But yeah, bro, you want to say anything?
Yeah, actually, you know what? I wanted to get to this point a little bit later, but I'm thinking maybe it'd be a good chance to get to it now. So, Jabari is about to get into what he believes to be his evidence of Christianity being a copy from Kemet.
Right.
And he's going to get into different parallels what he believes to be parallels. And I wanted to cover a couple different. Well, put it this way. So, going back to the beginning of this whole session right here, I was talking about how Christians have a wealth of different weapons at their disposal when it comes to engaging different objections against Christianity and what have you. And so, one of the things that we want to do here in the urban apologetics movement, we want to make sure that we're taking advantage of all those. I'm saying we want to make sure that we're availing ourselves to all of them. We don't want to be fighting with one hand tied behind our back. Now, when it comes to the claims about Jesus being derived from Horus or Dionysus or whatever people want to claim, there's different ways to skin that cat. Most of the time, the typical approach to refuting it, and it's not a bad one, but it's just probably the most common, is to go to the primary sources and demonstrate how they're on the side of the pagan source that they're claiming Christianity came from. There's no source to back that up. That's one way of doing it. I'm saying go to primary sources, show where the evidence is lacking. Most of the time, like I say, like 95% of the time, that's sufficient. I'm saying you're able to just kind of dispel the mythicist claim based upon that. The other side is kind of just like how Alfredo was talking about. It's kind of doing that compare and contrast. You know what I'm saying? Say, okay, well, even on our side, what you're claiming about Christianity being this parallel with something else, on our side of the fence, we don't believe that, or we don't adhere to this, that, or third. We'll get into some specifics in a second, some specific examples. You know what I mean? But so that's kind of the typical way that I think we approach it. But what I want to do is maybe take it a little bit deeper than that. Because I think that many people can go to the zeitgeist, refutations or various different apologists who have responded to the Jesus Horus connection and kind of get those kind of responses. But I'm going to kind of incorporate that, but then go a little, maybe a level deeper, so we can understand the fallacy behind those kinds of objections. I'm saying the kinds of objections that Jabari is about to list out, or the kinds of connections he believes to be between Christianity, specifically Christ himself, and some Kemetic figure. We want to kind of get to the fallacy behind underneath that. So let's get to the first one. Let me share my screen a little bit.
Yeah,
and we'll get to the first one here. All right. I love this stuff, man. This is dope. I love it. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is Can y'all see that? Can you see that?
Yes. It's can you make it bigger?
I think so.
Okay.
That cool?
Keep going.
Is that good? Can you see that?
That's good. Can you guys see it? Put a 1 up if you can see this.
I'm still getting the hang of sharing my screen a little bit, so y'all forgive me.
Put a 1 up if you guys can see his screen. It's small. It's small. Oh, that's good. Can you see it now, Letitia?
Is that good?
Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm trying to wait to see what they say. How about now, Letitia? Look good? Okay, they can see it. All right,
cool. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. Okay, the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. Here's your definition. Now you can go to any philosophical dictionary and get this right here. I think usually I'll go to Stanford Philosophical Dictionary. That's usually where I go first. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, ignoring the difference while focusing on the similarities, thus coming to an inaccurate conclusion. That's your definition of the basic definition of the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. Again, so ignoring the difference while focusing on the similarities, thus coming to an inaccurate conclusion. Okay, so let me go to kind of this my next slide here. So this is kind of how I imagine, people like Jabari making these arguments, right? They want us to focus on, the things that are kind of in that middle of these two circles here, wherever the similarities may lie between, say, Jesus and Horus or Kemet and, Christianity or whatever. They want us to focus on similarities, but they don't take into account the dissimilarities. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
They want to focus on the similarities, but they don't give an account for the dissimilarities, right? So again, for example, we were just talking about the Black Madonna, for example, and you were giving examples of how different I mean, I don't know how he relates that to Mary or whatever, but I guess he's just going off the statue. You know what I'm saying? But you were dealing with that compare and contrast, right? And so the same thing with Jesus, and he actually trying to decrease my screen, but I'm struggling here. Oh, here we go. I'll get back to that in a second. But again, I'm gonna take this off for now. I'm kind of, because we're going to go back to the video, and some of this will make a little bit more sense. But when we're talking about dissimilarities, an example would be like, he would want to say that, Jesus, and he'll say this in a minute. Jesus and Horus are born on on or around, I think he says December 25th or something like that. Which is totally ridiculous. You know what I mean? But with that being said, when we're talking about differences, he mentioned the fact that the main difference is that that Christians believe that Jesus was a historical person. he said, yeah, the only difference is they said he was a literal person. Well, yeah, that's a pretty big difference. That's a huge difference, because what's going to happen is when you're looking at mythological texts, right, and then you're looking at texts that are clearly meant to be historical, you're going to evaluate them with two different modes of analysis, if you will. You know what I'm saying? The authors are trying to convey, different things. So even though he trivializes that early in the round, said, oh, we're just, they believe Jesus is a literal person. Well, that's a huge difference. That's a huge difference. I'm saying we understand that Horus was intended to be understood as mythological. I'm saying, but then when we look at Jesus, who is clearly meant to be taken as a historical figure, whether when you read the Gospels, the book of Acts, the epistles, they're clearly treating Jesus as an actual historical person. That's going to be a difference that it as we go on in the presentation is really going to bear itself out. So I'm gonna leave that there for now. And as we kind of work our way through, we're going to start to see the Texas sharpshooter fallacy at play, because he's not going to be accounting for those kinds of differences. Oh, did I take you off? Oh, shoot. I think I took you off there by accident.
All right. So do you want me to go back to the video now, or?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's go back to the video. Yeah, because I want to give some examples. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Skeptical Mandis asks, is it possible that some things in the Bible are historically accurate and some are not? I'm gonna jot that down because I want to get through all of our points, but I do want to come back to that. That's a fair question.
Okay.
So let's make a note of that. You see, I'm putting it in my phone, so I'll make sure we come back to that. Good question. All right. Oh, I'm supposed to be sharing your screen. My bad, bro. Waiting on me.
Flesh off her bones with seashells and
You good?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
All right.
paraded her remains in the street. That's how Egypt converts. Why is he continuing to make this sound like it's bloodless? He knows the story of Hypatia. Look at his face. Yeah, so why is he doing that? Stop it. Why are you doing that? You don't have to do that to win this section. Because I'm gonna call you on it every day, all day. Is the tradition of Kemet the original form? Yes. But just as if you have a copy of a copy of a copy, it loses its clarity and focus. Just as it becomes filtered through the traditions of other nations and other peoples, it loses its clarity and focus. So carbon copy, no, but copy, yes. The Pope knows that. That's why he's actually paying homage to a Black Madonna. That's why you see these all over.
Yeah, I dropped the I dropped the gun, jumped the gun here, but yeah, he's talking about the Black Madonna now, but it's okay.
Well, actually, let me just say this too.
And I know that you're.
Again, this is kind of just the rhetoric that these guys do. So notice what he says. He makes a claim that Christianity again is a copy of a copy, or kind of like a watered down copy from Kemet. He says, well, the Pope knows that. He's worshiping the Black Madonna. Now, granted, I mean, the Pope could be worshiping the Black Madonna for any number of reasons. Like, how does he impose this idea that the Pope is aware, of some connection between Christianity and Kemet, and therefore is worshiping the Black Madonna? How does the simple fact of the Pope worshiping the Black Madonna convey that, in his mind, there's some connection between the Black Madonna and Kemet? You see what I'm saying? Like Jabari just said, well, the Pope knows that. Well, how does he know the Pope knows that? Like where is he getting? Like, how is he, discerning the Pope's awareness or intentions? You see what I'm saying?
Right. And again, the subject is Christianity, which we already defined what that is.
Right.
So you have to show us that what the Pope is doing is actual Christianity. Then you have to show us how it's a copy. But first, you got to show us that it's actually Christianity.
Yeah, I mean, like the Pope could show up tomorrow on live television with a dashiki, or let's say, ancient Egyptian garb, bowing down to the Black Madonna and all that. It can do that tomorrow. But how does that suggest that Christianity itself,
right,
I'm saying, is derived from, Kemet? That says something about the Pope. What does that have to do with Christianity itself?
Right.
And these are the kind of distinctions that he fails to make throughout all three rounds, quite frankly. I'm saying he never accounts for the distinction between Christianity itself and Christians or the church, what have you. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, go ahead.
You're going to say, I know he's going to say, that's Rome. That has nothing to do with me. I want you to hear this again.
Also, for a bonus, right, as I was doing my research, a lot of these quote unquote Black Madonnas actually became Black over time because, when they worship these idols, they would have these candles. And throughout the centuries, the flames of the candles actually darken the porcelain faces of a lot of these idols. So a good chunk of them. Now, they did have one that actually were made Black, but a good chunk of them were darkened over time. Just
like a reverse vitiligo type
thing. Basically. Right.
And because he's ignoring it. The way that this tradition gets into Africa, particularly in the countries he's talking about, is that Rome conquers Egypt, and then they weren't able to conquer Nubia, but then an Ethiopian man is transitioned by his tutor. I didn't say that I didn't imply.
Okay, yeah, fast forward a little bit.
I did not do that. Someone in the audience said that. I didn't say that.
Let me see.
I'm just saying if you sent your child to, that's what happened. All day long, you can't pretend that didn't happen. And he even suggested I didn't do a citation. I'll do that later. This is the original Austin Heru.
All right. I mean, Listen. Christian Apologetics 101, right? This is not the Trinity.
Right. Right.
This is not, I mean, I don't want to, we have some very educated people on the chat. I don't want to disrespect you by saying that you guys don't understand that. But for those who might be watching who don't understand what the Trinity is, just real quick, right? The God is one God, but he's the Father, the Holy Spirit, and the Son. The Father is not the Spirit, and the Spirit is not the Son. The Son is not the Father, but they're all equally God, right? That is what we say the Trinity is. It is not three separate beings, all right? They keep doing that to us, and it's like, it gets on my nerve because, like, you don't have to disagree. I mean, you don't have to agree with me, but don't misrepresent me.
Right.
Christians never teach that it's three separate deities. No one does that.
Right. Now, let me say this too. So again, this is a perfect example as to where people mention they want to talk about similarities, but they don't want to deal with the dissimilarities.
Right.
So a similarity, if you want to take Asar, Set, Haru, or for those who are unfamiliar with it, Isis, Osiris, and Horus, you want to take that set. Well, okay, you got the number 3. It's going to be, and then you got the Trinity. So the commonality is the number 3. And they place a lot of weight on that one similarity. But where are some dissimilarities? Well, let's talk about it. Even in Egyptian theology, if you will, you know what I'm saying? Osiris, Isis, and Haru and Horus are all what we would call contingent beings.
Right.
They're contingent beings, meaning it's not the case that they had always existed in that form, at least. You know what I'm saying? Because if you go back far enough, they're in their own theology. Again, you can deal with their creation stories where you got the Noon, which was like this kind of, mass
primordial ocean, right?
Yeah, this primordial, ocean or whatever from which everything flows, and then the god Ra, or I think in some instances or some text is going to refer to a tomb. You know what I'm saying? It's like basically kind of like their most high, so to speak,
right.
With everything else. And it's from them. It's from, I think I want to say it's Geb and Nut that you have Isis, Osiris, and so on and so forth. But the whole point is, they've got this family tree of deities, and Isis, Osiris, and Haru are further down the line. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They weren't in the beginning, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? At least not in a distinct sense. So, you know what I'm saying? That's going to be totally different from the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, who are all we would say is non-contingent beings. They're all past eternal and can have always existed, will always exist, and everything hinges upon their existence. I'm saying, like, Jesus isn't depending on anybody else for his existence. The Holy Spirit,
and also, their God, their main God, is a self-created God.
Sure, right.
The God in the Bible was never created; he was always here.
Right, which actually to be self-created, that's a logical contradiction anyway.
Right.
Exist in order to create something. Even
and how their God creates himself is very interesting.
Right.
I'll leave it at that.
I know you want to go there, but
I'll leave it at that. There's a
right.
There's a family show, so I don't want to.
There you go.
But
right.
So yes, you want me to continue playing this?
Well, I just want to just make a couple more points real quick though, because
sure.
This is really crucial. So again, when it comes to the 3, Isis, Osiris, and Horus, they're only if you want to even say that they're one, especially if somebody wants to fast forward to Jabari's last comment in the 3rd round where he describes his belief system, he believes everything is one. I'm saying, well, if that's the case, that's in no way like the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, who are in and of themselves. I'm saying who they are, what they are, all by themselves. You're saying as one entity, one God, manifests as 3 persons. I'm saying that's what we're dealing with when we're talking about the Trinity. Whereas whatever oneness you would want to talk about with Isis, Osiris, and Horus, that's going to include everything in existence. I'm saying, which is again a difference between Christian theology and Egyptian theology, right? The other side of it is, obviously Horus is, proceeds from the sexual union, mystically so, between between Isis and Osiris. He's a child, right? The Holy Spirit and the Father never got together in any conjugal way, from which Jesus proceeded. That obviously didn't happen, right? So again, that's another distinction. So these guys want to talk about the similarity. So all you got is the number 3 in terms of being similar between them, but there are these fundamental differences, you know what I'm saying, that you have to account for in these different theologies. And the more of those differences that you layer on, you realize that these two belief systems are not the same, nor are they copies. So for example, to make it a more plain example, between Muslims and Christians, we both believe that there's one God, right? I don't disagree with the Muslim that there's one God, but they believe that there's a Unitarian God. He's just one. That's it. Whereas we believe that there's a Trinitarian God. Those are fundamental differences.
Yep.
I wouldn't say to the Muslim, "Oh, you're a Christian," or "You believe the same thing I do," and they certainly wouldn't say to me that I believe the same thing they do. As a matter of fact, depending on what part of the world, I would get killed for believing that there's a Trinity. These are fundamental differences. You can't gloss over these fundamental theological differences and just say, "Oh, well, we got 3 and 3, they're the same. Well, one came from the other." You can't. That's just lazy. That's just flat out lazy. If you're going to be, these are very important topics, and you got to treat them, with that level of importance if you're going to engage in them. And so again, going back to the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, it's not enough to demonstrate that there's some sort of similarity. You know what I'm saying? You've got to account for the dissimilarities if you want to make some sort of, correlation or connection between Jesus, Horus, Kemet, Christianity, and what have you. Boom.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So with that being said,
this is the original Austin Heru. How can you see that and not recognize that you are seeing a copy? And in fact, I do not have the time to go through all of the similarities and myths, but very quickly, I'm gonna run through this so quickly, y'all. Some of y'all will catch it, some of you.
He doesn't have time to show us the similarities. What is this round about? But he doesn't have the time, though.
Right.
I just want to throw it out there. Okay.
And apparently, Egyptians have the monopoly on depictions of mother and son. Apparently, they're the only
the first mother to ever nurture a child happened in ancient Kemet. It happened nowhere else.
Nowhere else. Wow.
Right.
I mean, I'm being funny, but to be honest, that's a really good point, though. I mean, I'm being somewhat flippant about it. But that's another thing. When people are drawing these connections, there's a such thing as trivial connections. You know what I'm saying? Like some things are just trivial. It's like, okay, that happens in every culture. In every culture, you have children sitting on the laps of their mom. So you got to do more than that.
Right. There's certain universal things that just happen everywhere. Like, the people in Alaska were drinking water just like the people in Spain were.
Right.
but we're not going to debate, oh, they got drinking water from us. Like, no one would do that.
Right.
So, but anyway.
Now, look, you're going to see archetypes for Jesus within the stories of Heru and the stories of Asar. It's not in one place, because remember, it's not a carbon copy, but a copy nonetheless.
You know what? I'm sorry, man. I don't want to stop every other second, but I do want to touch that right there. Because he said it's not a carbon copy. But it's a copy. But it's a copy. And he said something about these different myths are in different
archetypes. Right.
There we go. Now, actually, I was reading and forgive me, I'm going to have to find the source and put it in, but somebody raised a great point that for us, looking back to that era, we can, do some good archaeological work and discover texts, coffin texts, stelae or whatever that give us an understanding of these different, of the nuances and changes of Egyptian religion over several different periods. And then the first century Christians didn't have that. They weren't archaeologists. There's no possible way that they had access to 3,000 years of Egyptian religion. I'm saying from which to draw several different, and you kind of cherry pick several different, myths from the horror story and what have you. Right. That's that we have access today. But to impose or to project that onto the first century Christian, that somehow they had this massive access, to all these different tellings of the Horus, Isis, Osiris story. That's just clearly ridiculous.
Well, actually, right, I just remember I want to share this. So before we can even get into the similarities of these myths, right? We know that these gods were used to help transition humans into the afterlife, right?
Sure.
Or maybe not, because I want to share something.
Like a segment or something like that.
This is going to really hurt a lot of feelings.
Oh.
I shared this before in my other presentation. I'm going to share it now. This is from Setting the Scene, the deceased and regenerative cult within offering table imagery of the Egyptian Ode to Middle Kingdoms by Barbara O'Neill. This is what she says. Until the latter part of this period, the non-royal deceased had limited access to an afterlife beyond the tomb. The ideological chasm between the king and his subjects were emphatically obvious. Only the king crossed the great divide and ascended to heaven, while kings enjoyed a smorgasbord of stellar, solar, and Osirian expectations in the royal netherworld. The elite were restricted to an earth-bound eternity. Direct contact with the gods was the prerogative of the monarch, who acted as guarantor of continued order indicated in the change of seasons, the return of the inundation, and the movements of celestial bodies. Right? The old kingdom's dissolution under centrifugal forces initiated a century of political disunity. In its ending, however, a crucial process was initiated. This involved the seepage of literacy and of ritual knowledge emanating from the highly influential elite stratum of Old Kingdom society in the provinces. This process activated ideological developments and funeral beliefs, whereas in earlier phases of the Old Kingdom, only the king could expect to enjoy immortality. The situation now changed with the emergence of a process now referred to as the democratization of the afterlife. Wow. So all this great deification, all these different deities was only for the pharaoh, for the Nesut. The common man and woman that lived in these different nomes and Kemet, it was not for them.
Wow.
It was not for them. You want to talk about the differences?
Wow.
Between the Christian worldview and the Kemetic? The gospel's for everyone.
So if you wasn't an elite, it was basically a wrap.
Forget the elite. If you wasn't the king.
If you wasn't, right. If you wasn't the king, right.
If you wasn't king. And it wasn't until there was an economic collapse that everyone started getting bits and pieces of how to get to heaven. It wasn't for the common man.
Wow.
If you wasn't the priesthood or part of the scribal class, good luck, because they wasn't telling you how to get to paradise. It was for the king. But you want to subscribe to this worldview. This worldview doesn't subscribe to you.
Oh, snap.
It doesn't subscribe to you.
So they basically got like 25 people, you know what I'm saying, up in I guess whatever their heaven would be. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how
it's just in the suits. You make it
real slim, dog. It's looking real slim.
Until later on, someone started leaking the mixtape early. They dropped you got dribs and drabs, and you try to figure it out.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? So
oh man.
So even before we get into all these refuting the similarities, they didn't want you to make it.
Right. You wasn't getting in, dog. You wasn't getting in.
You wasn't getting in. It wasn't for you.
It wasn't for you, bro.
It was never meant for you. Heaven was not meant for you. Think about that.
That's deep. That's deep.
So, but we're copying you? Really? I'm just saying. I mean,
yeah, I don't know a whole lot of copy, but again, there's another dissimilarity. There's another dissimilarity. They want to talk about, oh, this sounds like that. Well, let's talk about the things that don't sound alike. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, the more and more you layer on, you see how far apart the worldviews are. You see how far apart they are.
Right. Now, do you want to get into the Horus thing, or you want me to go with that, or you want to say something about Horus? I'm going to say a few things about Heru.
You said what now?
I want to say a few things about Heru. Do you want to say something or?
No, go ahead. Yeah,
I can keep going? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I want to deal with I'm going to deal with some of the parallels.
All right, cool.
A couple pieces. But go ahead.
All right, so virgin birth, right? As for Horus, he also had no virgin birth. Isis had sex with Osiris after reassembling his body parts, which were torn apart and scattered over Egypt. As Egyptologist and professor at the University of Arizona, Dr. Richard Wilkinson has written, quote, through her magic, Isis revivified the sexual member of Osiris and became pregnant by him, eventually giving birth to their child Horus. Yeah, that sounds like Mary and Joseph all day. Historian Professor Francis Dunard writes, after having sexual intercourse in the form of a bird with the dead god, she restored to life. She gave birth to a posthumous son, Horus. Now, crucified, resurrected, there exists not a single record of Horus ever even dying like Mithra. We are left to wonder how such a figure could be called a dying and rising god since he didn't die. This means he wasn't buried in the tomb or resurrected from the dead. Historian J.Z. Smith famously said in his essay in the Encyclopedia of Religion, the category of dying and raising gods, once a major topic of scholarly investigation, must now be understood to have been largely a misnomer based on imaginative reconstructions and exceedingly late and highly ambiguous texts. There is no unambiguous instance in the history of religions of a dying and raising deity.
Boom.
Trig Mehinger, a Swedish scholar and former professor at Lund University, has authored one of the most comprehensive works ever written in the field of dying and rising gods and its relationship to Christianity, called Riddle of Resurrection, Dying and Rising Gods in the Ancient Near East. He concludes his book by the following, quote, there is, as far as I am aware, no prima facie, I don't know how to say that. It's just like evidence, thank you, evidence that the death and resurrection of Jesus is a mythological construct drawn on myths and rites of the dying and rising gods of the surrounding world. While studied with profit against the background of Jewish resurrection belief, the faith in the death of resurrection of Jesus retains its unique character in the history of religions. I'll stop there.
Boom. All right. Hey, you setting me up, dog. I'm ready to go. Matter of fact, do you want to get to that Metternich Stella part? Do you want to address that?
The which part?
That's something I wanted to say about the Metternich Stella. I'm not sure if that's coming up next, but that's another piece that he brought up.
No, that's you. You can do that.
Okay, cool. So talking about Horus and his resurrection, supposed resurrection, according to Brother Jabari. Matter of fact, let me see if I can get to that part. Because I want to play it.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly sure. Let me find out something here. Bear with me, y'all.
What's going on?
Well, actually, I'll tell you what. Just matter of fact, I'll tell you what. Why don't we do this? Just keep working our way through where you stopped at the video, and it'll come up shortly anyway.
All right, let me get back to that. Hold on.
Yeah, let's do it that way. That'll probably be quicker. You know what I'm saying? Then
all right, cool.
Me trying to find it. Your Beatrice Burrell said, "Is this why they have to believe everyone was a king or queen?" Yeah, maybe. Because if you wasn't a king, then you wasn't making it. So, so that might be right. That's an exclusive club right there, boy. You thought the Jehovah's Witnesses was bad. I mean, daggone.
We was kings.
They got 100 people for a day.
We was kings.
Man.
No, he was king. You was just a regular dude.
He was a regular,
and you wasn't making it.
You wasn't making it.
It wasn't for you, bro.
No. Oh shoot, my fault. Let me add this right here. There you go.
That you're not equipped to hear this conversation. Does that make sense? That is just evident and known.
Hey, hold on. I want to play that part again. Hold on.
Jesus within the stories of Heru and the stories of Asar. It's not in one place, because remember, it's not a carbon copy, but a copy nonetheless. That's what occurs. So we see Heru as the son of God. You know very well that he's the son of Asar, right? Do you know this? Okay. If I have to give you a citation for that, you're not equipped to hear this conversation.
All right. You see, that's not good. You know, because the people came, they paid money to see you. They didn't come just to see Bantu. They came to see you too.
Right.
Why be condescending to the audience? You know what I mean? That's just not cool.
Yeah, it was a bad look.
But
I think go ahead.
But again, it's like what you said earlier. He's very flustered,
right,
in this round, and he's showing it by saying these kind of little, snide remarks here and there. So,
yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, like you said, it did come off snide. I thought, you know what I'm saying, but I think it's because he was rushing. He was behind the clock at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, because in the course of the debate, he had like 20 minutes for this presentation,
right?
And he spent like the first 5 calling Bantu a liar, so, you know what I mean? and falsely doing so. So that took some time off of him right there. And I think at this point, I think he's starting to feel that a little bit. Now, I'm not a psychologist. I can't say what was in his head, but I'm trying to give.
But you can't insult the people. You can't insult the people you're trying to persuade. Like that.
Oh, no doubt. Right.
Counterintuitive to what you're trying to do here.
Right. But, and people might not know. I mean, if they don't know, they don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, why make them feel bad about it? You're a teacher, right?
They're right. You're a historian. They're here to learn. Teach.
Right. Teach.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Continue.
Does that make sense? That is just evident and known. He also was born of a virgin and displayed in a crib outside of temples.
Citation. Yeah, pause that. So just for clarity's sake,
Egyptians have.
That's clearly false. As BK apologist laid out, it's clearly false that Horus was born of a virgin. You know what I'm saying? That's obviously not true, because again, in the narrative, Osiris's brother Seth, you know what I'm saying, dismembers Osiris, cuts him into 14. I think it was the 14 pieces, and Isis has to go around, and he just described this a second ago. Jabari did. He has to, Isis goes around, reassembles Osiris back together. The last piece, I believe, was the phallus.
Right.
You figure out what that is.
Right.
His reproductive organ. Right. And she then has sex with him. You know what I'm saying? She then, has a sexual interaction with him, and in one instance, apparently it was in the form of a bird. How that worked out, who knows? Nevertheless, nevertheless, this is their story. This is their sex. So she has intercourse with this reconfigured Osiris, and out of that sexual union, Horus is born. That is not anywhere close to a virgin birth.
Right.
There's not anywhere close to a virgin birth. I just wanted to go ahead and throw that out there.
Cool. All right.
Consecrated up to this day, the childbirth of a virgin and the nativity of her son, who was exposed in crib to the adoration of the people. This is from the Chronicle Pascal from actually the 6th century CE.
All right. The Chronicle Pascal, that's a document chronologizing the tradition of Easter. Pascal means Easter. And it was written by a bishop talking about the history of the world with Easter involved.
Right.
And it's dated 6th century.
6th century. That's what I was going to ask. So the 6th century, if you want to prove or make a case that Christianity is biting off of Kemet, a 6th century source as to what they're doing at that time is way too late.
Right. It's definitely not a primary.
It's too late to make the case that Christianity got it from y'all. It's too late. Then you would need to find something prior to the 1st century, and then make a case from a primary source saying, okay, well, this is where Christianity got it from. But 6 centuries in, I mean, cats is sharing traditions back and forth, so on and so forth. You can't prove that from 6 centuries late. Come on, bro. Right. As a historian, He calls himself a historian. As a historian, he should know that.
Right.
He should know that if he's trying to demonstrate causation between Kemet and Christianity, you at least have to go to Christianity's foundings, right?
Yeah.
I would think. But but I'm not a historian though. But I'll leave that to him. I'll let him figure that out.
Yes, sir. All right.
Citation. So that you should understand that people understood that was happening in Kemetic temples. In fact, Heru is usually born on December 25th.
Now, again, not to insult the chat, right? But nowhere in scripture does it say that Jesus was born December 25th, right? Just at all. I just want to put it out there.
Well, let me throw this up here too, because again, another dissimilarity. Let me share my. You can I share my screen right quick?
Yeah. Hold on.
Okay. All right. I'll share my screen right quick. I do want to make this point. Cass can go look this up and give you a source. I got to get there myself. Oop. And I'll make it larger once I get to where I'm trying to go. Okay. So when he talks about Horus and Jesus, supposedly being on December 25th, I submit to you. Actually, I misspelled that. You got the Egyptian epigomenal days.
Okay.
The Egyptian epigomenal days.
Break that down.
Okay. So on the Egyptians had different calendars, right? So on their civil calendar, right, the way they had it work, I'm trying to keep it simple, but I also have a source at the bottom. So I'm just making this real quick. And matter of fact, lest I be accused of not providing source, let me make this in bold. Because I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on it, but I want to make sure that people have the source. I'm make sure I put it in bold and in red, anywhere where people can read up on this further.
Right.
So you have the epigomenal days, which were in July, from the 26th to it's supposed to be the 31st. Excuse me. 26th through the 31st. There's 5 epigomenal days. I'm saying, and it was on those days that the birth of Horus was celebrated, Osiris, Isis, and other. And I'm missing the other 2, but definitely I think it was Horus was on the second day of those 5 epigomenal days. The birth of Horus was celebrated. And this is in terms of primary sources. You're going to find it in. I'm gonna mess this pronunciation up, but Nusur Temple Calendar Dynasty 5. I'm saying that's going to be a primary source for that. The feast list of Numhotep II and the coffin of Ma. Those are going to be your primary sources detailing the 5 epigomenal days, which are at the end of July 26th through the 31st. I'm saying, in which you have Osiris celebrated on the first of those 5, and then it's Horus. Then after that, it's Isis. And then after that, it's Nephthys. And I think Nephthys was last. And I'm missing one. I don't know why I'm missing that 4th one. But nevertheless, these are going to be your primary sources for that. Those 5 epigomenal days. The second of which, the birth of Horus, or Horus was celebrated. And then, if you want to read more about it, you can go to Anthony Spallinger, some remarks on epigomenal days. So that being said, my whole point is, when you're talking about December 25th, well, actually, it's at the end of July is when you're going to find the celebration of Horus and whatnot. You know what I mean? So
where did they get the idea of December 25th then?
I don't know. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Now, if there is some source for December 25th, maybe there is, but nevertheless, it's not some sort of exclusive. There's no reason to think that he was celebrated on December 25th exclusively. I'm not aware of any source penning Horus's birth on December 25th, but we can certainly say that's certainly not recorded for Jesus.
Right.
We also have, the second of the epigomenal days as being when Horus was celebrated. So even if there was a source, between where Horus is celebrated on the 25th, I mean, you still got to deal with, okay, well, why privilege that versus the July date? But again, I'm not aware of any. So he's a historian though, so he can let me know.
Oh man,
he can let me know.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right, so back to the video, or
yeah.
Okay, you gotta unshare.
Yeah, all right. So I'm gonna leave that there for now. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay, you're sharing yours. Okay, there we go. Okay, cool.
There's another citation. Every year, the temples of Horus presented to worshipers in midwinter, on or about December 25th, a scenic model of the birth of Horus. The Roman writer Macrobius adds to that the young god was a symbol for the rebirth of the sun at that date. The whole world by the year 1 AD was familiar with the Egyptian statues of pictures of Isis and her divine maid Horus in her arms. That's Joseph McCabe from the Story of Religious Controversy. His birth is heralded by 3 kings.
I'm not gonna say much about that.
What happens before this date is that
I'm not gonna say much about that because we could go tit for tat on every single
right.
But Joseph McCabe already, that's a suspect source anyway. I'll probably come back to that in the next go around.
Right.
But again, he's got Joseph McCabe quoting Macrobius, who, as he just said, is in the 4th century. So he's still making the same mistake. You know what I'm saying? If you want to demonstrate, that one came before the other, the 4th century is way too late. Now, I guess he's saying that Macrobius is claiming that this was going on in the 1st century, but we would need some primary source evidence for that. You know what I'm saying? In the 1st century to substantiate it. We can't just say, well, some dude said it 4 centuries, 3 centuries later, and there we go. I mean, so that's just another one.
3 stars align and point to another star. The 3 kings follow a star in the east. That is when you know when this will actually occur. That is, you've heard that story. You just didn't know that they took it from you, African. You can't just take it back the same way they gave it to you. You don't think that they messed with it in 2,000 years? You can't just take it back the same way. Don't just wrap your Bible in kente cloth.
Yeah, Paul.
It doesn't work that way.
I've heard him say that quite a bit. Like, we talks about I guess they stole the story from you, African, and don't you think they messed with it in 2,000 years?
Right.
I understand, like, when people ask questions like that, what I'm saying? They expect for your mind to fill in the gap with, I guess, some kind of conspiracy theorist kind of assumptions that they want you to come away with. But that's not an argument, though. I'm saying you can't substitute giving us primary sources, for the claims you're making with, questions and having us just kind of fill in the blank, with our own imagination. That's not an argument. You know what I mean?
It's rhetoric. It's rhetoric.
It's just rhetoric, right. And we shouldn't be persuaded by that kind of thing. But these are the kind of things that in the course of a debate can sway a crowd.
Yep.
But we want to really think critically about that. The other side is he talked about the 3 kings. We'll probably come back to that because we're at like 2 hours right now. But I do want to say that, that's not in the Bible either. We have 3 gifts mentioned: gold, frankincense, and myrrh, but the number, isn't mentioned there. And again,
they're not even called kings.
Right. You know what I mean? So, but we're getting kind of late here, so I don't want to.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to wrap it up now?
Man, I kind of do. I kind of don't, because there's so much more that I wanted to say about this round, man. We might have to come back and cover the rest of what he had to say here. I had some bars for because there's another fallacy that comes up here.
I mean, if it comes up right now, we could do that. Then we can end it off on that note.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and do that. Go ahead and play with it. Yeah.
By the way, Heru is the one who spits on wounds which will heal. That's in the coffin text. Spell 1113. He's raised by a surrogate father. He's known as the King of Kings. Take a look at this stele here. Do you see this? This is in the Metropolitan Museum, not far from where we are right now. But you're actually going to see that every king had their name incised in this. This is usually called a sarek. Say sarek with me. And on top is Heru, because Heru is the King of Kings. That is what you are seeing. By the way, if you need a citation for that, you have to get a bus ticket. He died and was resurrected. We see
again, right? He's throwing a shot at the audience. That makes no sense to me. Why do that? Like, he's upset. He's totally upset here, because why are you attacking the audience? Because those are the people you're trying to persuade.
Right.
Anyway,
because the thing is, earlier, it was pointed out that he wasn't given citations for much of his, I guess, some of his major points,
and that rattled him.
He was obviously rattled. he was obviously rattled, and clearly he was a little bit salty because at this point now he's like, well, if you need a citation, you can go to the museum.
You don't do that.
Bro, really?
You don't do that.
Like, how are you doing that right there? I mean,
not
like,
cool. Not cool.
You can't substitute. Like, just because you didn't bring a citation to the table doesn't mean you can punish the audience with being condescending, talking about they should just take it with a bus.
It's like dudes on the internet, right? They make a claim, and you ask them for the, for how they got to their conclusion, and they tell you, do your research.
Right, exactly.
That's what he just did right now. He just pulled up
the research. Right.
I mean, all right.
Dying and resurrecting. This is not far from here. Go look at what is generally called the Metternich stele. I don't have time to go through it extensively, but understand that Ost was traveling with her babe, looking for spaces to live, and she was told she was routinely told there's no room here. I know you thought you heard that story. I'm telling you the original.
Want me to stop there?
And then what happens?
You go a little further.
She actually finds that Heru is killed by his uncle. And so she calls to the heavens, speaks words into his ear, and he is resurrected. That's just one of the sacred resurrections we see, victory over.
Yeah, he don't mention the bird part.
he didn't get to that part yet, apparently.
Let that go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let that slide. All right, so let me I'm gonna do a couple different things. First of all,
you want to share your screen?
Yes.
All right.
So he talked about the Metternich stela. All right. Let me see here. Actually, I need to remove that.
Actually, I think we probably should end with this one right here. This little.
Okay, cool. So what I'm gonna do. Oh man. All right. Yeah. All right. We're gonna end with this one right here. Let me just make this one quick point.
Sure.
And then we'll come back to. Okay. All right. I know how I'm gonna handle it. All right. So here's let me put this in the chat. Actually, lest I be accused of whatever.
Yeah, we can't have that.
No, I can't have that. So from my phone, I'm gonna put what I'm about to read in the chat because I'm not sure if I'm going to bring it up, and it may not be visible anyway.
Certain people will do a quick response video. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I want to make sure I do that. So I'm putting it in the chat from my phone. This is we were reading from an article about the Metternich stela, and I think it got cut off a little bit, but that might bring it up. Okay, so let me get over there myself. Okay. Now, he just said a minute ago that, ISIS is looking for a place to stay, and she's repeatedly told no.
Right.
So he's trying to associate that with the, Jesus and, Mary, not find a place at the end and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Again, we talked about people dealing with similarities, but not talking about dissimilarities. Now, I'm going to read this description of the Metternich stela. I want you to tell me, if it sounds the same to you. If it sounds at all similar. Okay. All right. So let's go there. Oh, all right. Oop, that's the wrong one. Okay, here we go. So ISIS started out in the evening, accompanied by 7 scorpions who had been sent to protect and guide her. Tefin, Befin, Mestin, Mestatef, Petet, Fetet, and Matet. Okay, so it's like 7 scorpions. All right. The fact that she knew their names, which in themselves suggests an incantation, gave her power over them, and she ordered them most sternly to look at nothing but the road until they had reached their first halt, a city at the edge of the marshlands. After a time, she began to see houses, at one of which a woman was standing, but the woman shut the door because she was frightened of the goddess's companions, the 7 scorpions. This angered the scorpions, and they took counsel about it, and they put their poison all together on the spine of the scorpion Tefin, but the native servant opened the door for me, and I entered the house of ill omen. And Tefin slipped under the door and stung the son of the mistress. Now I'm just gonna say, this is what he just kind of flippantly, pawns off as if you have some sort of direct correlation between, the no story, no room in the end story and Mary and whatnot. You got. ISIS riding around with 7 scorpions, and one of them ends up stinging the kid. Now, I'm sorry, that didn't sound.
I mean, she's getting her Dr. Doolittle on, right? She's speaking to the scorpions. She does the incantation,
Right.
to control the scorpions.
Right.
The first person sees them, close the door because she sees the scorpions, which makes sense. I'm not gonna let scorpions in my house. The scorpions feel some type of way. They have a meeting about it. They decide to have one dude take the venom and that sounds exactly like the gospel. Yeah,
exactly.
100%.
Right. So I just wanted to point that out,
100%.
because again, you know what I'm saying, you have people just gloss over the dissimilarities. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. That's a lot of dissimilarities. They take one point where you have a woman traveling around, you know what I'm saying, with a kid or what have you, and then all these other elements, you know what I'm saying, that they don't want to account for, you know what I'm saying, and draw, these large conclusions. So with that said, I mean, I had another fallacy that I wanted to kind of cover, but we're probably going to break that into the next session. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a deep dive. This is what we do. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's been powerful for folks, and I definitely don't want to like shortcut it. So I'm gonna maybe we're just going to stop there. Now we did have some people ask some questions. So do you want to just engage those real quick and then get up out of here, or?
Yeah, let's take a couple. Let's take a couple.
Yeah. So Skeptical Mantis, I told him that I would come back to it. He said, is it as I recorded, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, or actually maybe it might be a she. I don't even know. So I apologize if I got the gender incorrect.
Actually, can you find it? Is it why did Jesus come during a time?
Is it possible that some parts of the Bible are historical and some are not? I think is what he asked. Right.
Let's see if I can find it, because we can actually highlight it on the screen if I can find it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you want to go back to it, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Was it what you said again?
Yeah, so I mean, apparently he's asked a couple questions, but the first one that I saw anyway was: is it possible that some parts of the Bible? Okay.
Oh, I can't. Oh, you have control. Only you can highlight it. I can't.
Oh, okay. Is it only I can highlight it?
Yeah, I can't do it, because usually you could actually put his comment on the screen.
I'm trying to figure out how to scroll up without.
Oh wait, yeah, that's how you do it.
Oh man, but I did the wrong
one.
You
gotta scroll up a little bit more.
I'm trying to go up to his first one.
His quote is in between two quotes from Letitia.
Okay.
It's right sandwich in there. It's from 11:38 p.m.
11:30. Okay, yeah, all right, that helps. That helps. Okay. So as I'm kind of scrolling backward, I mean, he asked quite a few questions. So I mean, we're not going to be able to get to all of them. Okay, cool. All right, so there we go. Is it possible that some things in the Bible are historically accurate and some are not? Okay. So, the way I would want to answer that is just to give, where we stand on it. You know what I'm saying? Which is basically, I believe that the Bible in its entirety is inerrant. You know what I'm saying? In that the Bible is accurate in all that it aims to teach. I think that when you take the scriptures, any part of it, you know what I'm saying, in terms of how it was intended, by the author and God's inspiration to be taken, then it will always be accurate. Now, the reason I would say that is because, there's a couple of different reasons, but I'll just give a quick philosophical one. First of all, I believe that Jesus rose from the grave. I'm saying I believe that that we have solid evidence for that. I'm saying, and that's actually what I was going to get into in the next portion anyway, but we'll have to leave that alone. But if Jesus rose from the grave, I'm saying, and he affirmed, the entirety of the Old Testament, which he did, I'm saying his own teachings, then I'd say that's probably something we really need to pay close attention to. If you rose from the grave, and I would pay very close attention to anything you had to say. You know what I'm saying? And so if you've got Jesus, who throughout his ministry has made divinity claims, has made claims about who he is in terms of just being God, to make it more explicit, and then that guy, his teachings are vindicated and put on display as being correct, given the fact that he's risen from the grave, was risen from the grave by the power of God, and that guy affirmed the Old Testament, then I'm going to say that everything in the Old Testament, we've got good reason to believe that it's correct. Now, what about the New Testament? We can take a step further. Jesus established the church. I'm saying he establishes his disciples to carry on the message. I'm saying, and also you have the Holy Spirit, which is imparted to us, by which we would be able to know the things that are. I want to. Maybe I should just go ahead and bring it up. Well, all right, we're trying to be quick, so I'm not going to do that. But I'm trying to be give it a snippet form. But Jesus establishes the church. You know what I'm saying, commissions them to go forward, teaching everybody what he taught them, basically discipling the world. That's what we're called to do.
Right.
And so for that reason, I'm saying we've got confidence, that what's going to be, put forth from the church. You know what I'm saying? We have good reason to affirm that as well. So that's kind of like a real sloppy 30-second, answer to that. I'm saying, but if you got the resurrection of Jesus, then to me, I think you got, inerrancy built in there, because you have God, you know what I'm saying, risen from the dead, affirming that the Old Testament is true and establishing those who would carry forth the message of the New Testament as well. So, yeah,
I 100% agree. But I think also what he might be getting at too is God's word is inerrant, right? But it doesn't mean that the people that he was talking to were inerrant, right? They had certain ways of believing how the world existed. Right?
Oh, what are you getting at? Okay.
It might be that. And
maybe, okay.
God doesn't correct them, right? He talks to them where they're at, right? Mm-hmm. So when God reveals his will, it's not thus saith the Lord. And by the way, his quantum physics.
Yeah, right.
He doesn't do that. Like, he works with the people where they're at, right? He doesn't give them all this advanced knowledge at the same time revealing his will. He's more concerned about conveying his will for them at that time. What's this? Hold on. Oh, okay. So so because I know some people will say, well, the signs that they believed in back then is not the same as now. But that wasn't the concern. That's not what we mean by not being in error. What we're saying is God's relation and his revelation is without error. And he used the times, the culture, the idioms of that time and place of those people to convey that. And he did that in a perfect manner.
Sure. There it is. Okay.
So now, with that being said, if you could suffer me a way for me to do a shameless plug.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I get to be on Adam Coleman's so let me show. So you could reach me on Facebook.com/BK Apologist. You could catch me on Twitter, Twitter.com/BK Apologist. You can catch me at the Gram, right, /BK_Apologist. And you can catch me at YouTube.com/BK Apologist as well. You can also catch me at TeePublic. I do urban apologetic t-shirts. I'll put the link in the chat before we go. And it'd be great if you guys could support. I'm trying to fill a particular niche in our world, as urban apologists, creating t-shirts that can invoke conversation, and so you can engage people. That's another way of being evangelistic as well. So yeah, that's it. That's what I wanted to share.
Cool, man. So just real quick, y'all, definitely, subscribe to this channel. That's going to be where we're going to be for our next segment. And I just want to say, I mean, we definitely going to have to get back to finishing this round now for sure, because there's a couple of things that some loose ends I definitely don't want to leave untied. We talked about the fallacy, of the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, where people like Jabari just don't take into account the dissimilarities. But I also, the next time we come back, I want to deal with the similarities more specifically. I'm saying, because I think that I always like to argue against myself. It just kind of helps me think. And so if somebody were to say, well, what if maybe they just borrowed some but not all, I've got an argument, that I want to bring to the table, that just demonstrates that notion, doesn't account for what the data we see in the historical record. You know what I'm saying? So that's another argument that I want to bring to the table. So definitely stay tuned. You know what I'm saying? Definitely stay tuned, because any loose ends we left here, we're definitely going to get back to it. But again, man, this is the first time doing it. This is a deep dive, you know what I mean? And we're taking our time with it. And, we're just taking it step by step. We don't want to rush it, because this is a great opportunity to explore a lot of different aspects of apologetics. So I appreciate everybody who rolled with us for, man, it's been like 2.5 hours, which is super wild. But we're doing that apologetics marathon, man, and I think we got all the questions all the ones that I saw. Actually, Latasha Malvo asked about a source for, I think, how Christianity came into Nubia. I'm not at my house right now. I'm out of town for Thanksgiving, but when I get back to the crib, I'll put that source in the description of this video. So if I don't do about it next time we have a session, just remind me. But yeah, so that's what I'll do when I get back to the crib.
Yeah, and if that doesn't happen, Letitia, you can inbox me, sis, and I could just send you some stuff. You know what I mean? So, all right. So, Adam.
Yeah, man. So I guess we got to set up a date and time to get back at it, man. We got some unfinished business, bro. We got to get through round 2. We got round 3 that just dropped yesterday, so we're definitely going to be, getting it in with that. And we definitely got to address that Q&A, so that'll probably be something.
Man,
so we get to that as well. Definitely, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Check out the True ID podcast. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to be interviewing Nefertiti. So that's going to be dropping, you know what I'm saying? So I have her on the show. Nice. And that's going to be as I relaunch the True ID podcast, man. So love y'all, man. And always, never forget, love God, love people, and take care of the things that God blesses you with, man. So with that being said, peace.